Guest section.
Stand by to launch FanStream Sports.
3, 2, 1. Let's start.
Hello, sports fans. Welcome to FanStream Sports. Nothing but pure sports. This is the JP Show.
JP, it's so good to hear you back on the air.
Stand by. Now, here's JP.
All right, welcome in to the JP Peterson Show on this Thursday as the Lightning get set to take on Buffalo, an Atlantic Division collision, as we like to call it on Lightning Vision. So we'll be at Amalie Arena tonight, but we got lots of Bucs to talk about today. Man, what a great press conference yesterday. Hey, we don't have games to talk about, so let's get excited about press conferences. Yeah, I just enjoyed being in an offensive coordinator press conference where the offense coordinator wasn't stringing together worthless cliches and talking down to me like I'm a 5-year-old, which is so it was nice to meet Dave Canales yesterday. Welcome into the program. Scott Reynolds from Pewter Report will join us at 10:30. So lots of Bucs in this first hour. And how are you this morning, Nick Geddes?
I'm doing great. And like you said, 31 minutes.
Wow.
31 minutes. You don't see that happen with coaches often. So refreshing to not get the normal 8 minutes, Maybe I'll answer your question. If I do, I'm going to demean you as I do it. The guy who has never called plays before, at least in a pro setting or a college setting, comes off as more intelligent about offense and schemes in the modern game than the guy who was the Super Bowl winning offensive coordinator, by the way, who still does not have a job.
Shocking
That's
development.
fascinating to me.
Listen, this is one of the things I talk about is when you hire guys and you evaluate them as coaches, you better be looking a little bit deeper than just kind of the surface facts. And, the team's doing well, the offense is rolling well. Okay, it's got to be Byron Leftwich. Well, clearly it was not. And when he was what was weird, I don't want to get on a tangent here, but it was so weird last year as we find out more and more about this is like, it really feels like Byron was just completely doing his own thing. And was like, okay, so I didn't get the head coaching job. I'm not listening to Todd Bowles. I'm going to do my thing, and we're going to go out there and we're going to win games because of me. Yeah, be careful about that. Be careful about what you're trying to get accomplished there, because that was just a bad strategy. And hopefully Byron will learn from that. He'll get another shot, and he'll be a little bit more collaborative. But the way, and we talk about this. Listen, how an offensive coordinator treats us in the media, who gives a rat's ass? Nobody cares, right? And you know what? We can complain about it, but I didn't lose a minute of sleep. I thought it was kind of funny, actually. I really kind of enjoyed it. You did too. I mean, we all kind of really enjoyed it a little bit. But this was so refreshing. Now, can this guy coach and call plays? I have no freaking idea, and I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I do. Until we see something on the field, him sequencing plays, we're not going to know. But we have to give an opinion based on the press conference, and that's what we're going to do today. And what did we hear? Did it sound like he's competent and knows what he's doing? Hell yes. Did it sound like he has lots of energy and he's going to work his ass off to get this done? Hell yes. Did it sound like he is a collaborative person that works well with others? Oh, yes, very much so. When you dig into his background and hear what people say about him, fantastic. But again, these are all words. We heard a lot of great stuff about Byron Leftwich too, and a lot of it turned out to be maybe not so true. So you just don't know that. And this is the great thing about the NFL. It's a bottom line business, man. You can't fake it out there. You're going to have to go out there and put it on the field and see what happens. And look, this is going to be a whole hell of a lot of unknown. And yesterday he talked a lot about Kyle Trask. And that doesn't mean Kyle Trask is the guy. It simply means that Kyle Trask is the only one under quarterback and the only person he's really allowed to talk about. He really couldn't even talk that much about Geno Smith. He could only talk about it just in terms of, what he did for them last year, because, Geno Smith is going to be a free agent, but right now I'm guessing he's still under contract with Seattle. So, and we'll probably stay there. But I think this as an aside, reading all the things on Twitter yesterday, it's hard to ignore this. It's hard to ignore the fact that Thad Lewis is one of Geno Smith's best buddies. They kind of grew up together. Okay. And they cleaned out the entire coaching staff, most of the offensive coaching staff, I guess. Well, I guess you can say that because they kept the tight ends coach and Joe Gilbert and Harold Goodwin for the offensive line and running game. So there's still some holdovers, but Thad Lewis was definitely somebody they wanted to have. Best friends or good friends with Geno Smith. Geno Smith even was the one who broke the news that Thad Lewis is going to be the quarterback coach. And then you bring in Dave Canales, who was Geno Smith's quarterback coach last year. I mean, Stevie Wonder can see this coming. I mean, this is not too hard. I mean, are they making a play for Geno Smith? Is this what we're witnessing here?
It still seems unlikely for all the reasons we had said yesterday before this press conference.
I don't know how you fit him under the cap. And let me just say this. This whole sport track thing, if he's going to get $35 million a year, I ain't buying into that. I don't. Do you really think there's a lot of teams? Do you think Seattle's going to pay
Seattle,
him?
though, here's the thing, though. Seattle would have to wants to give him the franchise tag, likely, if they want to keep him. The franchise tag, the non-exclusive franchise tag, I believe, is $32 million, around there. So that's that number for the quarterbacks. The exclusive franchise tag, which means they have full control over him, nobody can come and try to get him, trade for him, that's $45 million. He ain't getting that one. That's probably going to be the Lamar Jackson franchise tag.
Right.
So it's going to be $32 million at least for Geno Smith.
If the Seahawks
want a franchise tag,
want to franchise them, do they have the salary cap money? Franchise tagging is great because you keep the player, but it's also, if you're in salary cap hell, it's not easy to absorb in 1 year. Those are the toughest contracts to absorb on a salary cap situation, which is why, franchising Jamel Dean, I don't think it's going to be as easy as people think. So I don't know. I don't want to get bogged down in the Geno Smith talk, but man, I mean, it's hard not to see this as unless you want to say this is setting up for Drew Lock, which please God, no. I don't want to see that, but look, if that's where if the Bucs feel like Geno Smith is a cheaper, and if they can get him to a long-term deal, his salary cap hit will be less than that. They can definitely spread that out. But I still think it's going to be a challenge to bring in a quarterback. And here's the other thing. That's $25 million extra. That's extra, at least $25 to $30 million extra, because you got Kyle Trask and you can go with Kyle Trask. You can draft a quarterback, and that's going to be minimal as well, even if you draft a quarterback in the first round. So to me, the quickest way out of salary cap hell is a low salaried quarterback. And I don't think Geno Smith fits into that category whatsoever. So let's table the quarterback talk for now, because as far as this conversation goes, it's all about Kyle Trask. And I asked two specific questions about philosophy. And then he talked about how his run game is, I don't want to say dependent on the quarterback, but the quarterback is very much a part of this run game. If you watch it, there's a lot of bootleg action. You either hand it off or you take it, on the boot. There's a lot of RPO action where you got to, as he explained, that to hold that backside for just a split second is a big deal in his running game. And this is a guy that's, they produced 4.8 yards per carry. We could use that here. No question about it. So, I mean, and that's an important part. And I asked him about that. So let's get to some of the sound from yesterday. And you guys can get a feel for exactly who this cat is. And again, really fun to listen to him. And that's why I don't want to paraphrase his words as much as just hear him. Here's my question. And he kind of explained that Shane Waldron is the latest offense coordinator. So that's basically the system he's bringing. It's a Rams system. Shane Waldron tutored under Sean McVay, came to Seattle, put that offense in, and that's basically the offense that Canales is bringing here. So let's hear him talk about the philosophy of it.
1 second, let me get it popped up here on the stream real quick.
And
there we go.
Got it?
Yeah.
And away we go.
Great. So it's good. I just come fresh off of interviews and stuff, so I can kind of rattle this stuff off. But number one, it's all about the ball. So everything we do, all 11 guys on the offense, is going to be about protecting the football. Whether it's in the run game, pass game, or protection, we're going to be crazy about it. One thing that hits my brain really quick, Skip Pete is going to be our running backs coach. They had 0 fumbles lost last year from the running back. Okay, so he could have started that interview with that, dropped the mic, and then he would have been hired. So that's number one. Number two is focusing on what we control. That's your fundamentals and your attitude. So we're going to be a developmentally minded staff that's looking to develop player A to player Z. Okay, they're ours until they're not. Okay, there's no catering to this guy or that guy. We want everybody to develop their fundamental skills. And then the attitude starts with effort. And that's one thing I go back to Pete, from day one, the very first day of spring, very first day of camp, we critique effort first. So we're looking for people trying really hard. We'll get the how to, but we got to get the how much and how fast going before we can really take a step from there. The third thing, it's the marriage of the run and pass. That's our identity, is things that start looking one way but end up being different. And the thing that's going to help us, without getting into too much detail, is that we're going to do things that are simple in concept but are complex in delivery. So what do I mean by that? It's not going to be a lot of plays. It's going to be a few plays out of different personnels and different looks so that our execution stays at a high level there. And then we're going to be situationally aware. We're going to be a very smart football team. We're going to know what we're looking at, the situations. The play calls are going to come out based on the specific area of the field. The players are going to be aware. When we get this situation, we should probably only be calling this 1 or 2 plays. They'll be in tune with a lot of that stuff. And then, of course, ready to adjust. And the thing that allows you to adjust is by not having so much volume. Mm-hmm. When you keep the package tight, then you're able to adjust and make fine-tune little fine-tuning changes within a game plan so that they can continue to play fast. And the last part that'll be our calling card is finish. And you'll see linemen running down the field. You'll see Gino last year chasing Ken Walker down on runs, just trying to get his body in the way, in a smart way to keep himself safe. But you're going to see 11 people fly off the ball and really finish drives, finish quarters, finish halves, and finish games, and it starts in practice. So that's just the general philosophy of what we'll do.
Can I give a golf clap to that?
A little bit of golf clap.
Wow, there's a lot there. I've covered a lot of different coaches in my tenure of covering the Bucs for over 25 years now, and you see a lot of different approaches. There's the Gruden approach, which is voluminous. I mean, it's just a huge amount of volume of plays and terminology and everything. And you've got to have a really veteran team, a veteran quarterback, and veteran guys to really understand it and be able to enact it. And you've got to be able to communicate that to them, to a lot of different players. And I think that's always where, Gruden seemed to fall down. If you look at his offenses, they were never, ranked very high. Mostly in the bottom third of the league. And I think that was always a challenge for players because Gruden is so brilliant. He knows so much. He expects everybody else to know as much. And most players don't have that kind of capacity, number one, and just don't have the time and the wherewithal to really absorb all of it as much as Gruden does. And that to me was always a disconnect. So I like this approach where it's, what does he say? It's simple in concept, but complicated. I think he said complicated in delivery. And in terms of when you're observing it, just think about the Rams offense. There's a lot of things going. There's pre-snap motion. There's a lot of stuff going a lot of different ways. And it's, one play, they hand it off in the jet sweep. The next play, they roll out, throw it back to that player. It's a constant reversing of motion. As a defensive player, you've got to really zero in on what you're seeing. There's a lot of eye candy out there, and you've got to decipher that stuff quickly. And if you are running a lower volume of plays, you can really, really zero in on the execution of those plays. So you don't spend, 7-8 days in spring and off day, just on install. Here's the volume of plays. We got to run every play, blah, blah. It's a lot of different variations, and you can adjust based on that. I mean, you get an injury to a corner on one side, okay, now we can run that same play in a couple different formation variations, but we're still attacking that same person. So it's very amenable to attacking certain weaknesses in a defense in a lot of different ways. It may look like different plays, but they're still going after the same weakness. And that, I think, is a brilliant way to coach offensive football. And you see it a lot with Sean McVay. We pointed out during the year when we see certain plays, we try to say, look at how they designed this particular play. It's brilliant. And that's what I hear from Canales. That's what I hear a lot from him.
Yeah, and I also hear a lot of I think he's aware of the situation that he's stepping in at the moment, where Kyle Trask is the only quarterback on the roster.
Right.
And so maybe the talent at that position, you're not going to be able to do certain things. And he had a really good callback memory to all the quarterbacks that they've had come through Seattle, even more so than Russell Wilson, because they've had to have other quarterbacks fill in and they've had success. And he cited that. And what did he say about the quarterback? It's about being the point guard.
Yeah.
Right? And just getting the ball out to the skill guys. And the Bucs still have really good skill guys on this offense, right?
Yeah.
It's still there.
Did you hear him talk about Rachaad White?
Well, he loves Rachaad White.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll play that here in a little bit. Well, let's play the Trask one, because when he talked about the run game, I was like, okay, well, you're talking about the quarterback being involved in that. I got to go back and look at a little bit more Kyle Trask Florida tape. I remember him being like on a mobile scale. I'm going to say he's a 5, right? 1 to 10. I'm going to say he's about a 5. So, and I think feels like Canales thinks differently, and interesting to know he's gone back and looked at some Trask Florida tape and a lot of it. So here's him on Kyle Trask.
Trained is they're ours until they're not. And so right now I got one Bucs quarterback. It's Kyle Trask. And I can talk about Kyle for a second here. I really liked him coming out. If you look at some of the skill position players that he had there, Kyle Pitts, Kadarius Toney, he had the big return in the Super Bowl. And then you have Damian Pierce was another guy, right? Well, he was able to distribute. And the thing that we're going to help Kyle continue to build on here is to just be a point guard. Point guards don't have to be the one that score all the points. You just distribute, play on time. Get the ball out of your hands. Life's better that way when you do that. And you got these bears chasing you. And if you don't like bears chasing you, then get rid of the ham. And that's the football, right? So just teaching him those principles, allowing him to be a distributor. And the other part too about just QB philosophy and play, coming from a junior college background and high school and all that, we really didn't care if the guy was 5'10" or 6'4". I had a 6'6" quarterback. The one thing we were looking for is, can this guy play catch? And Shoddy called it the me to you factor. I love that. It's just me to this guy, learning who my skill players are and being able to distribute. He's already shown he can do that. And then on top of that, it's just a really quarterback-friendly system because of the balance of the run and the pass. We're not going to put him in harm's way a lot until, of course, you get in those situations where you got to throw it a little bit. And then we'll do that as smart as way as possible.
Yeah, that wasn't the one that my specific question, but that was good too, just because he's got that. Now, he's not expecting Kyle Trask to be Tom Brady. And in this offense, you really don't need to be. And he even mentioned Jared Goff when he was with the Rams. And, I wouldn't say Jared Goff is the most mobile guy, but I wouldn't say he's immobile either, right? He's about a 5. I think he mentioned Jared Goff when I asked him about Kyle Trask. So if you have that quote, we'll play it, but if not, no big deal. So yeah, and I'm like, okay, yeah, Jared Goff ran that offense, and he ran it pretty well until he didn't. But Matthew Stafford was obviously better at it. So I get it. I think Kyle Trask would be confident, but don't be fooled. Kyle Trask is the only person that they can talk about, and he knows that.
Yeah.
And we have another quote here from Jeff Darlington. There's a lot of smoke out there about Kyle Trask being the Bucs starter.
Yeah.
Okay. It's clearly that is a message that the Buccaneers want out in the atmosphere. Okay. So that means they're looking for a starter. I think that they don't want anybody to think that they're looking for Hendon Hooker in the draft. They don't want anybody to think they're looking for a quarterback in free agency. They don't want anybody thinking. They want everybody thinking that, the Bucs are good with Kyle Trask. What did they say at the Super Bowl last year? Oh, we're good with Kyle Trask and Blaine Gabbert, or 2 years ago, or No, last year.
Last year,
Yeah. And knowing full well they're trying to get Brady back. That
Yeah.
was the whole deal. And they knew they were going to get Brady back, or they had a pretty good feeling for it. So, again, let's not get too crazy about all the Kyle Trask.
Yeah, that's what I was seeing a lot on Twitter yesterday. They were like, "Oh, well, Kyle Trask is obviously going to be the Bucs quarterback now," and it's like, "Whoa, slow your roll here." And I believe even Rick Stroud even asked him the question too, about other quarterbacks out there, and he even name dropped Derek Carr, I believe, because that's actually the only quarterback that you can actually talk about within the confines of the NFL rules,
right?
Because of tampering, right?
Because he's been released and he's a free agent.
And Dave Canales, he kind of sidestepped that. He never even responded to the part about Derek Carr. So he was going to focus on Kyle Trask. I will say this, for what it's worth, he had good answers about Kyle Trask, and clearly he's done his homework on Kyle Trask. He's watched the tape. He's gone back and looked at what he did at Florida. There's not much to go off of what he's done in Tampa Bay so far, right? So
we could have a whole game tape, but we don't have that.
I'm sure he's collected enough feedback from the building about Kyle Trask. It seems like if that is the route that they have to go down, he has a plan, at least, right? He's got a plan. He feels confident in it. He knows what Kyle Trask can do. He knows what he can't do. He just said it right there. We're not going to ask him to do something that he can't do.
Right.
We're going to try to mold it to his strengths. So I like that. I don't like fitting square, what is the saying? Square holes and round pegs and square holes. There you go. I don't like when we have to do those type of things, because I feel like I've seen the Bucs do that for a long time.
Right.
Like Jameis Winston's a good example of that.
Right.
So at least he has a plan, and that's refreshing to hear.
Yeah. And obviously a lot of what Dave Canales is going to bring to the table is the running game. And that's what Todd Bowles wants. That's why he hired Dave Canales. And obviously Rachaad White is the starter here. And here's Dave talking about his new running back, Rachaad White, who he absolutely loves, and got to see, obviously, firsthand his best game in Germany.
Oh, yeah. Just what shocked me about that was the toughness and the style that he ran, because I saw him as this like versatile guy who you could run routes with out of the backfield, split him out wide and do some things like that, plus the run game. But then you see his attitude, in person in Germany, and just see the style that he ran downhill. He was aggressive, the violence that he played with, and you go, wow, this guy could be special. He's got some great skill sets that really fit into our system.
Yeah, he loves him some Rachaad White. And I think Rachaad White was so underutilized last year, was utilized poorly. Every time you saw Rachaad White out in the flat one-on-one with the linebacker, he wasn't even looking at the first guy. He was beating that guy easy and moving on to the second leg. That's what the great running backs do. And he almost always made somebody miss, either in the hole or out wide when he got the ball. I mean, he should have had it, 6 to 8 times a game in that situation. Yeah. And he's going to get it.
I think he's going to be given every chance to be the bell cow in this system. Now, they're going to bring another running back in, whether that's through free agency. We mentioned Rashad Penny because of the obvious connection.
About him yesterday.
It could happen through the draft, which has a really deep class this year, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So there's going to be competition. But Rachaad White, to me, and I know people are saying, well, we only had 3.7 yards per carry. Well, you know what? A lot of the runs that were happening last year they were just kind of runs to fill a quota. It just looked like there was no sense to a lot of the runs.
Yeah,
so
and he was running into stacked lines. I mean, listen, everybody knew last year that Tom Brady wasn't running the ball. Okay, and you heard Canales talk about that backside when there's a threat of a quarterback pulling that ball and going back the other way, either on a bootleg or going outside. Linebackers have to freeze.
Yeah.
And that's a big deal in the running game, even that split second. And, when you get into an offense that's properly spread out, not these bunch formations that the Bucs always like to play under Leftwich, it's properly spread out and you've got room to run, then Rachaad White's going to have a lot more room to make guys miss, and is going to be so much more. The scheme of this running game is so different.
Yeah.
And you heard him talk about the marriage of the passing and the running game. You don't know which one it is in that RPO system. So you stick that ball in there, the linebacker just has to wait. And when you pull it, that tight end is there's a huge gap there, and it's so easy to play that way from a quarterback standpoint. I mean, it's so much easier than just sitting back like Brady did. And now, and then when you start cheating back to the tight end linebacker, you're kind of on your heels. All of a sudden, he gives that ball, and you got to make up 4 or 5 yards just to get to the hole. Yeah. Rashad White is through that thing and gone, man. It's that split second. That's all you need. That's why the running game was so bad last year. No quarterback involvement, and you got plus with Brady getting the ball out so quick, the safeties were pushed up as well, knowing that they're going to be short passes. There's no room to run, man. So it was tough. This is going to be a totally different deal.
Yeah, and they got the guys up front, in my opinion, to run the ball effectively. Yes. And they've got the skill guys, too, as well, to help out in the blocking. Like Chris Godwin, we know, can do it. He's been doing it for his entire career. Colt Keep was drafted solely off of what he can bring to the run game, and I think there's more there. Shaq Mason, we know his strength has always been in the run game.
Yep.
We know what Tristan Wirfs and Ryan Jensen are going to give you.
Yeah.
So you have the pieces here to have a really competent run
how
game.
Exciting the linemen are going to be, knowing now that these linebackers are going to have to sit and wait to see what's going on while they're bearing down on them, and just it's going to be, the offensive line is going to look so much better.
And we don't have to see halfback dive on 1st and 10, or if that fails, we don't have to see halfback dive on 2nd and 8. Ridiculousness, stuff like that. So
it's a whole new world. Here's Canales on let's do number 4 on his coaching staff, which some will be holdovers here.
We pot this up here.
Mm-hmm. And he's putting together with Brad Idzik and some of the other guys he's bringing in, plus the holdovers.
Let's start up front. So first of all, Harold Goodwin and Joe Gilbert are here. You talk about world champion offensive line right there. So I can't wait to get in there and sit with them and put a run game that's really awesome, together and build off of the things that they've been successful with. And they've already been so supportive, just wanting to expand with some of the ways that we build formation. So it's not these simple things that happen. We can move stuff that's going to look really hard for the defense. It's going to be pretty simple for us. John Van Dam, tight ends coach, is already here. He's got quarterback, OC background. And so just having the value of a guy who's coaching the tight ends with all of that, he really becomes like a bridge. He really becomes the glue. Makes me think of our tight ends coach in Seattle, Pat McPherson, who had the same type of background as a quarterbacks coach in Denver, as well as a tight ends coach. And so he's been kind of the bridge over the years of whatever our run game is, man. Pat's got these keepers and these play actions that really make it come to life. And when I was drawing passes, I would always joke because I'd be like, Pat, I've been drawing these plays 5 years and you haven't brought me a package of it without there being something I haven't drawn. And we're talking about thousands of plays, but so that's what I'm going to be expecting from John as well. And then Skip Pete, we talked about, just fired up to just be able to lean on him too, just as things get rough at times, somebody who's been around to be able to calm me down as I can get a little bit excited and got a lot of bottled up energy and a bunch of ideas, but that'll be really helpful. And then Brad Idzik, so 5 years at Stanford as an assistant, and then 4 years in Seattle, quarterbacks and receivers. The thing that I'll say about Brad, there's 2 reasons really why I had to have Brad. Number one, you look outside after any practice, he's out there with somebody working, or 2 or 3 guys. He was always that safety net, just kind of catching guys. If you have 12 guys in a receiver room, he's working with the bottom half. If we brought a free agent in who needed help transitioning into a new system, Brad's right there early. Afterwards, here's the plan. Here's how we package these things. Here's how to block this guy right there. And that's going to be really important with Mike and with Chris, for him to be the bridge for those guys into this new system, and that's going to be a really important task of Brad's. And he was mentored by Sanjay Lal in the receiver room. Some of you might not know him. He's regarded as one of the best receiver coaches out there. And he trained Brad. And so Brad's going to be able to employ some of those study film, different techniques and all that he'll bring. And probably most importantly, he's my workout partner. So he's 10 years younger than me, and he can go. So I'm chasing him up and down the gym, and it keeps me alive. And so we've spent a lot of good time, a lot of good hours together. And yes, he knows the area. John and Carol Idzik live not too far from here. So just a really cool homecoming for him too.
Yeah, there you go. There's a rundown on the coaching staff. All right, before we get to Scott Reynolds, one more soundbite, and this one is on, the bottom line. We'll do whatever it takes to win. Calling plays, and this is a little bit more on his calling plays and lack thereof.
To win.
It's about,
and above all, take care of the ball.
About, feeding one person or making somebody happy. It's about what it takes to win.
If they're not fitting the runs right, we'll run the ball 40 times. And there'll be days where you got a matchup outside with Mike or Chris Godwin, and we're blocking them pretty good, and we could throw for 400 plus yards. And that's happened in our past in Seattle as well, is just like do whatever it takes to win. And above all, take care of the ball. So, having that balance is critical, and it's not about establishing the run. It's about establishing an attacking offense that makes you have to defend the run, but also defend the pass, and then that's when you become dangerous.
That's it right there. It isn't about the numbers. It's about the effectiveness. And that's, that's taking a full complementary view of offensive football, not passing versus running. It's marrying the two together. And remember when we played that Kurt Warner a breakdown of, is Brady broken? That's one of the things he said. I don't see where the run game and the pass game are married together. One doesn't work off the other. And Dan Orlovsky said the same thing. Nothing flowed because it was disjointed that way. And a lot of that had to do, with some of their limitations.
Yeah. And just to wrap before we get to Scott, it just reaffirmed that, again, I go back to that statement that Todd Bowles made, and it said, the more that I talk to him, the more I realize that we see the game the same way. And I tell you what, from everything that he said yesterday, I have to believe everything Todd Bowles said. Well, it's so crystal clear to me why this guy is the offensive coordinator, how he's a good interview. I mean, you were in the room. He seemed like he had everybody engaged for 31 minutes. Very charismatic.
You felt that, yeah.
You felt that.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, Greg Schiano won a press conference. I'm sure he did. We don't know.
He didn't gain a yard yesterday. The team did not gain a yard yesterday, but you kind of have to predict it. Look, this offense is going to struggle the first half of the season. Just getting to know it, because the execution is important, and that's timing for a lot of these motion plays and fake handoffs, and it takes a lot of execution, and you're not going to be able to get it all in off-season workouts, but there'll be an adjustment time. But think about what Todd Bowles does on a weekly basis. He's trying to figure out how to defend Jalen Hurts. He's trying to figure out how to defend the, Lamar Jackson, these modern day quarterbacks in his defense, and doesn't know if it's pass or run, and trying to teach his linebackers, hang in there until you know what it is. And these other teams are looking at the Bucs offense like, hey, Brady's going to drop back. He's going to run this route and run that route. If they run, it's going to be strong this way. I mean, it must take them 5 minutes to prepare for the Bucs offense the last year. There's nothing complex about it. So this is bringing this offense into the modern day, and that's no knock on BA, by the way. I'm not the offense that they ran the past couple. It was more a Brady BA hybrid. So it was a little dysfunctional
talent to do it.
Right, with the talent. When you got the talent to do it, it works great, and when you don't, it's not so good. You can't lean on
the BA
scheme.
Offense as the Bucs look right now would be even more of a disaster than it was last year.
Oh God, yes, yeah. Oh my God, yeah, because it's quarterback dependent, it's receiver dependent, it's all those things. And listen, when you run that offense, you go get good players. That's the way BA did it. He had great success. But Leftwich did not understand the nuances of all that and how it had kind of, been bastardized into what Tom wanted as well. So it was just, the whole thing was just so dysfunctional. This, at least we're bringing it back to some consistency. All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, Scott Reynolds is going to join us from Pewter Report. We'll get his take on what he heard yesterday from Dave Canales and where the Bucs are on this quarterback search. We're brought to you by the Jeeves Law Group at Bay Area Modern Medical Center, BAMMC.com. Chris Lugo, we had him on yesterday, really informational. Go back and check out that segment yesterday if you want to get some, you want to lose weight, you want to figure out what's going on, BAMMC.com. Check that out. Back in 3. For the Jeeves Law Group. I've known Scott Jeeves for quite some time, and he's just like us, a huge college football fan. He loves his Gators. In fact, he sponsors our Gator Report every Thursday at 11 o'clock with Scott Carter from FloridaGators.com. But he's not just another PI attorney. He is a ferocious advocate for his clients. Scott Jeeves is a board-certified civil trial lawyer and a certified circuit court mediator practicing in Tampa Bay for over 30 years. He is an AV preeminent rated civil trial lawyer and certified circuit court mediator. Folks, these designations are not just given out. They're given only to the best trial attorneys. But more than anything, Scott takes these cases personally. I've heard it from his clients. He's a fighter you want on your side. Insurance companies hate it when they see you're represented by Jeeves. He's just different. 727-894-2929 or go to JeevesLawGroup.com. That's JEEVES lawgroup.com and tell him JP sent you. Now is the time to make sure your home insurance is in order. In the last year, many of us have made improvements to our homes. So call the folks at Italiano and discuss these upgrades to make sure you have enough coverage. According to a recent report, almost 64% of homeowners don't have enough insurance on their home, which is their most valuable asset. Also, a great time to make sure you have flood insurance. Even if your mortgage company does not require flood insurance, your home could still be at flood risk. Another big item as we enter hurricane season is making sure your pool enclosure is added to your policy and there will be no issue at claim time. That happens a lot. So call your friendly agent at Italiano Insurance to review your policies today. 813-877-7799 or ItalianoInsurance.com. Attention, if you are home shopping or looking for a refinance, and even if you already have the approval letter, you must call my man Scott Fitzgerald at American Mortgage Services. Scott has a brand new program available in the greater Tampa Bay area called the Community Advantage Loan Program. Get this, no money down, no mortgage insurance, no points, no origination fee, purchase or refinance, and loan amounts up to $647,000. Now, there are some application requirements. It must be a single-family home, 1 unit, primary residence, and have a minimum 640 credit score. The program only applies to certain neighborhoods, so you have to call to find out if you qualify. So call Scott Fitzgerald at 813-294-7595 or email him at scott@amstampa.com. Now, even if you don't qualify for that program, Scott will shop your loan around, get you the best rates, and won't charge you the huge upfront fees. And if you've had issues with your bank calling you back, Scott will return calls immediately or at least the same day. 813-294-7595 or email him, scott@amstampa.com. Scott Fitzgerald, MLS 386722, American Mortgage Services, 1000 North Ashley Drive, Suite 1020, Tampa, Florida.
Coming back at you. Now, more with JP on FanStream Sports. It's only just begun.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show, brought to you by Italiano Insurance and the Golden Diamond Source. Jump on over there. They got some great used Rolex watches and great watches, baller watches, as I like to call them. And they've got some great new ones as well, but you can get some great deals over there. If you want to trade something in, they'll do that as well. Anything in the jewelry arena, it's the Golden Diamond Source. Great folks over there, Julie and Steve Weintraub. Go tell them you heard it from JP and get something nice for your girl, even maybe if you forgot your Valentine's Day gift. I know one man that did not because he always takes care of his lovely wife, and that's the great Scott Reynolds. What's up, Scotty? How are you, my friend?
There
you are. Can you hear me?
Hello. Yes, I can hear you just fine.
Yeah, cool. How are you?
I'm doing good. Doing good. Good morning to you. And holy smokes, what a press conference yesterday, right?
We're going to call him Febreze from now on. He's such a breath of fresh air. That was It was so nice sitting in the front row there, wasn't it? Not being talked down to, quite literally.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is,
Scott, it's very complex what we're doing here.
No logic, JP. No logic. Yeah, you're talking just fantasy football stuff. Yeah, I mean, listen. Dave Canales won the press conference, right? He talked the talk for 31 minutes. That was a hell of an introductory press conference. I mean, I think I asked maybe the first or second question. He won him for like a 3 or 4 minute ramble, which was cool. Yeah. Because the thing is if he's going to be this detailed in his answers to the media, what type of details is he going to give his players when it comes to looking at opponents' tendencies, right? Looking at self-scouting film, and this is what you're doing wrong with your fundamentals and your footwork, right? I mean, the attention to detail is the thing that really stood out to me. His high energy is something else. I think that is very important for coaches to have. You don't have to be that way if you can communicate effectively. Todd Bowles is not a high energy guy, very much like Tony Dungy, right? But he still gets his message across to his players. I know fans look at Todd Bowles and they fall asleep. They're ho-hum. He stands there with his arms crossed on the sidelines. We heard the same thing, JP, about Tony Dungy. The difference was Tony Dungy won, so that was fine and accepted, etc. But the thing is if you look around that Tony Dungy staff, he had Rod Marinelli, who was a fire starter. He had Herm Edwards, who was a fire starter. You can have guys on your coaching staff.
Monty Kiffin.
Yeah, Monty Kiffin, exactly. The ultimate fire starter who can be the high energy guys to kind of bring some balance to your coaching staff. And I think that's exactly what Dave Canales is going to do. This guy is a whirling dervish, a human tornado of energy. And we'll see if he can walk the walk. But I like everything I heard yesterday. It was a stark contrast to the sleepy, tired Byron Leftwich, who honestly, when he opened his mouth, there were a lot of clueless things that came out. And it didn't give Buccaneer fans and media a lot of confidence in what Byron Leftwich was saying. And I can only imagine that translated to the players as well.
Yeah. It's funny. It's almost like the offense emulates the coordinator. And let's hope it works the same way with Dave Canales. It's high energy. It's creative. It's detailed. So let's dig into some of the details. And you know, the thing that really got me off the top was when I asked about his overall philosophy was the marriage of the run game and the pass game.
Right.
You know, you're an old defense coordinator yourself. I was just explaining. I'm like, can you imagine if you're a DC and you're playing the Bucs last year? You're just like, okay, this will take about 5 minutes, guys, to let you know what you're doing. I mean, it's pretty simple. This is how these are run formations. They run every time out of this. These are the pass formations. They pass. These are the 5 pass plays.
Here's the wide receiver screen. Look for this early and often, right? The first down runs, here they come. 3rd and 1. Let's bunch everybody inside, right? And 0 line splits. Yeah. I mean,
that's it. Go to the weight room.
It was completely It was completely predictable, easy to plan for, easy to defend. That's why points were at a premium for this offense. That's why 3rd downs were a struggle. The red zone was a struggle. And the thing is Dave Canales, he talked for 31 minutes to the media publicly, and then had another 30-minute session for the beat writers, kind of off the record. I'm going to share one thing he said. It was off the record because I'm not going to quote him, but I'm going to paraphrase, and I don't think it's any trade secret. But if you want to be a good red zone team, you know what you have to do? Run the ball. Yeah. Run the ball inside the 10-yard line. Okay, because you run out of real estate. It's just math. If you are dropping back to pass, go back to that Dallas Cowboys game in week 1, not the playoff game where Tom Brady threw a red zone interception. Go back to that game in week 1 where Brady got sacked on a couple 3rd downs inside the 10-yard line. Right. And the Bucs had to settle for field goals. Yep. Tampa Bay didn't and couldn't run the ball very well, whether it's inside the 10-yard line or anywhere on the field, really. But the difference is when you're dropping back to pass and you're at your, say, 7-yard line, right? You only have 17 yards of real estate. Right. That's it. To defend, right? Yeah. It's so much easier for defenses to defend that. And what we saw the Bucs face so many times, a 3 or 4-man rush. That means they're dropping 7 or 8. You can only put 5 eligibles out there, right? So if you're putting 5 eligibles, let's say one's a back, one's a tight end, 3 receivers, or double tight ends, two receivers and a back, that's 5 guys that are defended by 7 or 8. Right. Sooner or later, those 3 or 4 pass rushers are going to, one of them's going to win a one-on-one and come through and get to Brady. And that's what happened. Yeah. And that's why it was so ineffective. We asked Canales, again, kind of off the record, but I'm not really telling any state secrets. Why wasn't the Bucs running game effective last year? He's like, they didn't run it enough. They didn't. And you can't be good at something if you're not willing to do it. Now, he understands the double-sided sword, which is if it's not working, and some days it's just not going to work, right? The defense is just better. You're having a crap day at the office, whatever. You can't block him. You got to throw the ball, and that's fine. Yeah. But the statistics and what they bear out is the Bucs, JP and Nick, had 3 games where they rushed for 100 yards or more. 3. One was against Dallas in the season opener. One was against Seattle, and Dave Canales saw that firsthand. Yep. Rashad White's 100-yard game of the season. And then the overtime game against the Cardinals. Guess what the record was? They were 3-0. Of
course. Yeah.
The 9 games where they rushed for 70 yards or less, the Bucs were 3-6.
Mhm.
So they lost twice as many games as they won when they just simply couldn't run the ball at all.
Yeah.
So I think what you're going to see is a more balanced approach. If it's going to be Kyle Trask or some journeyman quarterback they're going to bring in, it needs to be balanced because you're not going to have a heavyweight titan like Tom Brady who can lead the league in passing attempts and sling it around the yard. If you do that with the Kyle Trask or even a Baker Mayfield or Jacoby Brissett, that's not playing to their strengths, and they're going to throw interceptions, more interceptions than you're going to want. So my last point on this, and I know that, in this fantasy football world we live in, and playing Madden football, this is a pass-first league. I get it. Dave Canales gets it. Todd Bowles gets it because he has to defend it. This team is not going to be run first. They're not going to be the Eagles or the Ravens, etc. It's going to be balanced. Balance doesn't mean 200 yards rushing, 200 yards passing.
No.
It doesn't mean they're going to run the ball for every time they're going to throw it. Balance could mean 100 yards rushing and 300 yards passing, right? That's more balanced than
having the threat of it.
Exactly. Running the ball when you want to
Right.
and be successful doing it.
Have to.
That's the key of a successful running game. But look no further than the Super Bowl. The Eagles were like the top running team in the league, right? They had a 1,000-yard rusher. They had Jalen Hurts, who scored 4 touchdowns in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
They rode their running game to the Super Bowl. Kansas City won, not just because Patrick Mahomes was really good in the red zone, which he was. They outrushed the Eagles.
Yeah.
The Chiefs outrushed the Eagles. So there is still a viable place for the running game in the modern day NFL. And if you can run it and pass it, you're going to the playoffs and you're going to win games.
Agreed.
And he was asked a lot about Kyle Trask yesterday, and he spoke pretty highly of it. You could tell he's done his homework. He said, I want him to be the point guard. And
Yep.
I mean, we know he can only talk about Kyle Trask because he's the only quarterback on the roster.
Right.
He sidestepped even when I think Rick Stroud had mentioned Derek Carr. Obviously,
Yep.
wasn't going to speak about anybody else.
Right.
The more you hear the Bucs kind of talk highly of Kyle Trask, and there's the report from Jeff Darlington as well that the Bucs
I saw that.
that he's
Man.
the best quarterback in the division, which we could debate that, I guess.
It's debatable. Yeah.
Do you think that this is a big smoke screen on Kyle Trask right now, or do you really believe the Bucs believe that?
Well, I think it can go either way, right? If they can't find, I mean, listen, they couldn't find an offensive coordinator, right? So if they can't find a quarterback to come here and play, then you have to settle for Kyle Trask, and it might as well puff the guy up and inject some confidence in him and kind of like hey, we were Kyle Trask from day one, right? Like that's one narrative that the Bucs can play. When I say the Bucs, I mean Jason Light and Todd Bowles, right? And Dave Canales. Hey, we told you we've been on Kyle Trask from day one. Ever since Canales was hired, he was our guy. If they do get another quarterback like a Brissett or a Baker Mayfield coming here on a 1-year cheap prove it deal, which is probably what only the Bucs can afford right now, then what you've done is you've given this kid some confidence. You've puffed him up a little bit.
Mhm.
Even if he's not the starter, he might play at some point in time. JP, you and I are old enough to remember Byron Leftwich's first tour of duty in Tampa. It was the starting quarterback in 2009. He was the placeholder for Josh Freeman, who was the first-round pick that year. So this could be a situation where if things aren't going well, if there's an adjustment period to this offense, if Todd Bowles' defense takes too many hits in free agency, and some of these younger guys, the JTSs, the Logan Halls, the Kyle Trask, these draft picks that Jason Light, drafted when this team was a Super Bowl champion and kind of put them on reserve because they already had their starters re-signed for 2021. If these young guys don't step up and be effective for this team and it starts to go south, then you're going to see that handoff, right? Like we saw from Leftwich to Freeman, you might see it from Brissett to Trask at some point in time. So puffing the kid up, giving him some confidence, it doesn't hurt. Now whether they're selling it like a smokescreen for the draft too, who knows? Who knows what they're going to do? That was certainly the case back in 2009 when in late March, maybe or early April, they signed Byron Leftwich. Mark Dominic and Raheem Morris were puffing this kid up.
Oh yeah,
not Freeman at the time. They were puffing up Byron Leftwich. Oh, this is a former first-round pick from Jacksonville, and he went to the Steelers for a while, sat behind Big Ben. He's ready to go. And I told both of them, like, you're drafting Josh Freeman. I mean, come on. Raheem was out there at Kansas State for Freeman's freshman year. I mean, come on, man. Like, and it was a smokescreen. So we'll see.
Yeah, and that's what I think this is. I think because when Jeff Darlington comes out with it,
it's a plant, right? It's light telling him that to get it out there.
Exactly.
And again, it's either it serves the purpose of the smokescreen, or if the smoke kind of dissipates and they're stuck with Trask, then it served a point and a message of, hey, we've been behind this kid all along. Let's see what he can do. So it doesn't hurt either way. It's just conjecture.
Scott Reynolds, Peter Report, joining us here. So who is that possible guy in the draft, Mr. Guru? I think
I don't know, man. This is not a good draft for quarterbacks.
Well, so how much I've started to watch some tape on Hendon Hooker, and I like it. I like it a lot.
Yeah.
And the fact that people are saying he's going to be there in the second, third round, I'm like, you're out of your mind.
I think he'll be there in the second round. I don't know if he'll be there in the third round, but it's not a good quarterback draft. The thing with Hendon Hooker that is enticing is he's played well against big time competition. Obviously, beat Alabama. That's the signature game. He was in a very quarterback friendly system with Josh Heupel. This is a very quarterback friendly system that Dave Canales is bringing here. Yeah. Geno Smith, if you take Geno Smith and you plop him down in all of the other 31 NFL teams, right? And he's not going to have the level of success. He might have success in one or two other spots, but he would bomb in other schemes. Yeah. He just would, because he's not that talented of a guy. He was a second-round pick coming out. He's been a journeyman, kind of, plucked around the league. But as Rich Gannon proved with John Gruden, as Brad Johnson proved, in with the Redskins first, and then coming to here, sometimes it takes guys having that experience, taking some lumps, and finding some success later on, but also getting in the right scheme, right?
The right fit scheme too.
Yes. When Kyle Trask was drafted, I had somebody in the higher up in the organization tell me, we think this is another Brad Johnson type. And what that means is tough guy, willing to hang in the pocket, make the downfield throws. And if you surround him with talent, and if you remember, Mike Allstott, Michael Pittman, right? Mm-hmm. Ken Dilger, Ricky Dudley, Keyshawn Johnson, Joe Jervicius, Keenan McCardell. That was talent right there, man.
Yep.
And say what you want about Monty Kiffin's defense and the 9 defensive touchdowns, whatever. If you take away all 3 of the pick sixes, Derek Brooks's and both of Dwight Smith's, take away all 3 pick sixes in that 48 to 21 game, mm-hmm. I think it was it was with the score in the Super Bowl. Yeah. The Bucs still score enough points on offense to win.
Yeah.
So it took a while for Gruden's offense to kind of take hold, but they caught fire in the playoffs. They trounced San Francisco. They scored enough points in Philly to win. Even without Rondé Barber's pick 6, they still win that game. And then, of course, in the Super Bowl. So
they played great complementary football, and that's
exactly right.
That's what they didn't do last year.
Right.
The offense never married with the defense. The passing game never married with the running game. Everything was dysfunctional last year.
Too many 3 and outs.
Everything was dysfunctional. No one part of your game was supporting and complementing the other part of the game. And I think what I heard mostly from Canales, and obviously with Bowles is on board with this, it just seems a much better marriage between the two. And sometimes when you have that, it makes up for your lack of ridiculous talent. I mean, the Bucs won the 2020 Super Bowl because they had ridiculous talent.
Right.
They're an extremely talented team, and they played well fundamentally. Didn't make a whole lot of mistakes, especially after the bye week. Right. That was their formula. And last year it was the exact opposite. They had some good players, but nobody was working together.
Yeah, well, you look no further than the Ravens game on Thursday night. The Bucs had a 10-3 lead at halftime. The defense was doing its job.
Hell yeah.
At some point in time, though, the 3 and out on offense.
That was gassed.
The defense is getting put back out there, and not just that, they're not getting put back out in the field to rush the passer.
Yeah.
They're getting put out in the field to stop the run, which takes a lot more out of you as a defensive player.
Yep.
And then look no further than the Carolina game, the debacle in Charlotte.
Yeah.
The Bucs were only down 7-0 at halftime. Right. That was it. But they couldn't do anything. And then the Panthers ran roughshod over them in the second half when the Bucs defense was gassed. Yeah. So you do have to play complementary football. And I think too, Rachaad White is going to be a featured back. And I mean featured in this offense. They like Keyshawn Vaughn. They think that he made some real strides last year, and we saw it in training camp. Keyshawn, we were like, hey, who's this guy, man? This guy can catch the ball now. He's running angry, and they're going to draft another running back. I mean, they will. It's not going to be Bijan Robinson. There's too many other needs to get a first round back. As Seattle proved with the likes of Thomas Rawls, Chris Carson, those are a couple guys that Canales mentioned yesterday. You can find an angry runner, a pissed off guy on day 3 that will break some tackles and get the job done. This is a very, very, very deep running back draft, like very deep. You're going to find a couple of guys from day 3 and even some undrafted free agents that will wind up being starters in the NFL from this draft. It's that good. Worth of talent. And so to me, I
don't see anybody markedly better than Rachaad White.
Yeah, I'll say this. There's a couple guys that I like in this draft that can be as good as Rachaad White and that can be taken on day 3. Better? I'm not going to say that. But I think Bijan Robinson is better. I will say that.
We've got a lot more holes to fill than running back. And if we spend a pick on that. Now, so anything else on Canales that jumped out at you?
I think what he's going to try to do is bring in a very simple system, and you're going to see some of the McVay Shanahan concepts, which is we're going to show you this formation, and we can run 5 different plays out of this formation. And he talked about everything being uniform, and that means every single offensive lineman, their feet are going to be a certain way. The running back's feet is going to be a certain way. So there's no tip off, no predictability. And that is so critical because when you only have X amount of formations, right? It can be a little predictable because the defense knows, well, we could see this, or this. Okay, that's fine. It might be 1 out of 5, but 2 of those are going to be runs and 3 of those are going to be passes, right? And it's 3rd and 4. So we can run or pass, right? So good luck guessing which play it's going to be. Is it going to be something inside? Is it going to be a wide zone run? Is it going to be a bootleg pass, with a flood concept where you've got a couple receivers and the tight end all going in the quarterback's sight line for an easy, quick read and a quick, cheap first down? Is it going to be a play action deep shot to Mike or Chris?
Right.
That's where the lack of predictability comes in, is when you can show a defense something and the players start to guess and think, because their film study says that they could do this or that.
Right.
And so then you've got a couple of defensive linemen thinking, oh, this is going to be play action pass. You're going to have a couple linebackers thinking this is going to be the bootleg out here in the flat. And the secondary is going to be thinking 3rd and 4, they've been running the ball down our throat. We as safeties have to creep up a little bit. So now you've got different guys on defense thinking different things, trying to work within the scheme of the defense that's called.
Right.
But because you can do so much out of just one different personnel grouping and one different formation, and they're going to have different personnel groupings with different formations. So there's a lot that you can do to really make a defense second guess. Plus, then you throw in some motion to help the quarterback. Is it zone or man to make this simple, easy read? It's just going to be a less predictable attack, and I'm excited to see what he can do.
I am too. I think it's going to be much more. Yeah. I will guarantee you this. I want to wait to see what the personnel is and who's healthy as the season starts. But if we're relatively healthy with similar personnel, I think even though I don't know who the quarterback is, 18 points a game sucks. That red zone sucked. I mean, it was so bad last year. It was historically bad.
Right. I mean, it's going to be embarrassing, JP. It's going to be embarrassing if this offense averages 21 points per game, which is not like earth shattering, right? I'm just saying,
guaranteed.
But with Kyle Trask, at quarterback, if they average 21 points per game, and you could only average 18 points per game with Tom Brady at quarterback, like how much of an indictment is that on Byron Leftwich's lack of imagination, lack of creativity, lack of adaptability, and lack of scheme?
Yeah.
You're going to see Dave Canales scheme touchdowns, scheme guys open, scheme first downs with personnel usage and all of the different little tricks and packages he has with play action, RPO with motion, etc.
Yeah, that's the modern game. It's going to be
Yeah,
fun to
the
watch.
modern game, exactly.
Before we let you go, I want to get kind of a feel for where you are on the draft right now. And I know it changes every week. You know, there's the different information that comes in. I really don't have a really good feel where the Bucs are going because I do think the quarterback is a wild card. I think they can go quarterback in the first round. Listen, if you don't have a quarterback and you feel like one of these guys, and I know you feel it's kind of a weak draft, and I think most people feel that way, but there may be a guy. So I think quarterback kind of throws. I think they could take one in the first. I think they could take one in the second, take one in the third. I don't know which round they're going to go, but I think they're going to take a quarterback. That being said, there are so many other needs. Is this draft so dependent on best player falling to you at 19? Like if an edge rusher slips and you like him, boom, that's the draft. To me, the draft is going to tell the Buccaneers who they should draft. Whatever happens before them. I know that sounds kind of obvious, but I think more than any other year, they have so many needs that's going to tell them. Is that a fair characterization?
You should let the draft come to you.
Right.
Baltimore, honestly, in my opinion, Baltimore and the Eagles have done a fantastic job of just letting the draft come to them and picking the best player, being patient. But you know what? This year, I almost want to see Jason Light trade back, and not just like he did, last year in getting Logan Hall at the top of the second round. Go back to the 2018 draft, right? That's kind of a sneaky good draft for Jason Light. Everyone looks at Tristan Wirfs and Antoine Winfield. That's the 1-2 punch, right? That was a fantastic draft in 2020. It just was. But man, that 2018 draft, right? You get Vita Vea in the first round, you trade down a little bit and you get Vita at number 12. Ended up being a Pro Bowl guy, led the team in sacks last year. We can say he's a good player, right? He's a good starting player, really, really good fit for this scheme.
Great player.
Jason Light accumulated a couple of second-round picks. He had 3 second-round picks. He used those picks on Ronald Jones, ultimately not a good pick, right? He flashed a year in the Super Bowl season, had 900 yards, but ultimately not a good pick. He's going to be out of the league next year. The second pick was MJ Stewart, a cornerback who was a bad pick. He overdrafted. MJ Stewart probably should have been a 4th or 5th round pick.
Low guy, can't play.
Yeah. But his third second round pick was Carlton Davis, who, he is a stud cornerback. He's probably not a top 5 cornerback by any means. Questionable if he's a top 10, but he's a top 15 cornerback in this league, right? He's a starting caliber, really solid cornerback. When he's on his game, you saw what he did against Jamar Chase. The guy can be really good if he can stay healthy. Then he drafted, Jordan Whitehead in the 4th round, Alex Kappa in the 3rd. Kappa cashed in a free agency. Whitehead really helped that team. And I think they missed Whitehead last year in the secondary. So when you come away with 4 really, really quality starters, Vita Vea, Carlton Davis, Alex Kappa, Jordan Whitehead.
Yeah.
That's a really solid draft. And he did that by creating more picks for him to miss.
Yeah, exactly. You
trade back, get more picks. This is going to be a year where you're not going to be able to re-sign all your free agents. You got to lean on the draft. You need more picks. And if this team wound up with 10 picks in the draft, you could make the argument all 10 are going to make this roster this year just because they're not going to have the cash resources to re-sign the 23 unrestricted free agents. Sorry, 22 now because Tom Brady's retired. Yeah. But that's just a lot of capital to outlay for free agents that I don't think this team's going to have this year.
So who are you trading to get picks? Devin White?
No, they're not going to trade Devin White. There's Todd Bowles with him being here. As long as Todd Bowles is here, Devin White will be here. Devin White is like an extra Bowles kid. Okay, it's like you've got Troy, you've got Todd Jr., and you've got Devin Bowles. Okay, that's just how it is. Say what you want about Devin White. I think he played better the second half of the year after he was called out publicly by Sapp and myself. I'm not taking any credit for it. I'm just stating that's what happened. He played more consistent football.
You're going to give him $15 million a year because he's
$20 million. $20 million. He's not going to get 15. He's going to get $20 million.
You're going to pay Devin White $20 because if you keep him,
I'm not. But the Bucs will because that's what Todd Bowles wants, and I'm telling you right now,
that's not smart.
I'm not saying it's smart. I'm just saying it's going to happen. Okay. Bruce Arians' blind spot was Byron Leftwich. He could do no wrong. And at the end of the day, the only ally that Byron Leftwich had in the building was Bruce Arians. Okay. By the end of last year, he was the only ally Byron had left in the building. That's why I had the confidence literally 30 seconds after the Cowboys lost to the Cowboys in the playoffs to publish the article that Byron's going to get fired. I knew it. I knew it at midseason he was going to get fired. Okay.
Should have been fired at midseason.
Should have been. That's a story for another day. But having said that,
Bowles loves Devin that much.
Devin White is Todd Bowles' blind spot. He just thinks that the kid can do no wrong. And I hope he gets better. He's got the talent to. He's really young still.
But
He just got to be more consistent.
How can Todd Bowles is running this defense? He watches every week how teams set up Devin White, especially in the red zone, to get free touchdowns. And you're going to pay that guy. Listen, I love Devin. He's a good dude. He's a great guy. He's great smile, but he just hasn't progressed his game, especially mentally. His game just has not progressed. He still can't get off blocks. Yes, he makes splash plays, but when you're gambling,
certain coaches they have a crush on a guy, man. We saw with Michael Pittman with John Gruden, right? I mean, just like, man, look at this guy. Look at this guy going out to Clearwater Beach, man. I want those guns, man. It's like, okay, what does that have to do with scoring touchdowns? And he got tripped over blades of grass, man. He's running wide open in the field. He tripped over blades of grass. He had no contact balance whatsoever. But Gruden was just enamored with Pittman. So it happens sometimes, and that's how it is. So
where are they getting the draft picks from? Who are they trading to get
trading down? They're going to trade down and
constantly and get more. Okay.
Yeah, you're at 19, so you can trade down maybe 10 spots, still keep your first round pick for the 5th-year option for that guy, and start accumulating some picks. Maybe you trade down in the second round. This is a deep draft at a lot of positions the Buccaneers need. This is a flush tight end draft. There's really good running backs in this draft. There's some offensive linemen. This is a good edge rusher class. I think it's fairly deep at cornerback. It's pretty deep at safety. I think the meat of this draft is in the 2nd and 3rd round. Okay. So if Jason Light can come away with 4 day 2 picks like he did back in 2018, where he had 3 second rounders and a 3rd rounder, and he hit on, out of those 4 picks, he hit on 2, Kappa and Carlton Davis, right? So. And sometimes you need, just like Jimmy Johnson did, he was the master at trading down. You need more picks to make up for those misses that you're going to miss on. So you can't go perfect in the draft.
Do you think you can get a 2nd and 3rd for Devin?
Yeah, for sure. But they're not going to, because is Levante David going to come back? And the other thing too is the more guys you cut, and they're going to have to cut some guys to create some salary cap space. I think Donovan Smith is one of those guys that they're going to part with as well. That's fine. So you get rid of your left tackle. Now you've created a hole that you got to fill. So sometimes you're taking a step back to take a step forward. Maybe you try to slide Tristan Wirfs to the left side and say, Luke Gedeke, your best game last year, or all the games you played at left guard, was your right tackle game against the Falcons in Atlanta. So we're going to give you a shot there. And then you draft another tackle in the mid rounds to compete with Gedeke, or as your swing guy, because you're not going to have Josh Wells this year. Tore his knee up at the end of last year. Plus, he's a free agent, so you're going to need another tackle. So
got to draft one.
Got to draft one.
All right, Scotty, good stuff, man. If you want to get the information on the draft and off-season, Pewter Report is the place to be. So tell everybody how they can get your content, my friend.
Yeah, we're heading out to the Combine next Tuesday. So make sure you check us out at pewterreport.com. That's the mothership. You can follow us on social media at Pewter Report, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And we also have got our Pewter Report podcast that come out 4 days a week, Mondays and Tuesdays at 4 p.m. Then for the late night crowd, we go 7 p.m. on Wednesdays and Thursdays. So 4 straight days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. First 2 days at 4, the last 2 days at 7. You can find us on Pewter Report TV. That's our YouTube channel, Pewter Report TV. Make sure you're subscribing to that so you don't miss out on any of our content that we post on YouTube.
And I'm expecting, by the way, when you come back from the Combine, Anthony Richardson should be your number 1 quarterback, correct?
No.
If you do these things. No?
Well, maybe at the Combine. Yeah, he might tear it up at the Combine, but man.
He's going to be a star.
Yeah, his accuracy, though, is atrocious.
I want you to be the guy that puts AR-15 at 1, and I want you to be the guy that puts Levis at 2, because that's how these things work.
Let Hendon Hooker fall to the Bucs.
Yeah. I like Hendon Hooker. I would not be, you know what, out of the top 4 guys, right, they have no chance of getting Bryce Young, no chance at getting CJ Stroud. Levis, I think there's some mixed bags. I think he is a love or like kind of guy for certain teams. They either love him and he's a top 5, top 10 guy, or they like him and he's a top 20 guy.
You see Josh Allen. I don't see it.
Yeah, I don't either. And then with Richardson, I don't know. He's not going to have the slide that Malik Willis did, right? Where he fell to the 3rd round. The Titans got him. Just because Richardson's just a better athlete. He's got bigger upside. He played in a better school, right? Florida in the SEC.
Oh, yeah.
But the accuracy is a real struggle.
Oh,
and it's
that. Every coach can fix that, boss. You know that.
that's what they think, right, JP? Oh, we can fix that. I'm a quarterback's coach. That's what I get paid to do. Come on.
No big deal. No, that's easy.
Yeah.
I mean, look, Jalen Hurts has been able to improve his passing.
But he did that at Oklahoma. He went from Alabama to Oklahoma, Lincoln Riley's system.
That's right.
He improved dramatically as a passer. The problem with Anthony Richardson's not the downfield accuracy or the intermediate throws. It's the missing on swing passes, missing on slants. It's the pitch and catch stuff, the 5 and 10 yard stuff that he can't hit on a regular basis.
As a Florida State fan, it was nice to see that in the second half.
Yes.
What did he have? 13 straight incompletions, I think.
Yeah. I pity the team that drafts him, and I hope to God it's not the Bucs.
Yeah, I hope not too. All right, brother. Thanks for the information.
You
Always
got it.
good
Thank
talking
you.
to you. Great Scott Reynolds there. But we got a lot to chew on that one as well. So let's hit a break. We'll come back. We'll talk about what Scott had to say. We're still digging in on Dave Canales. We're going to get to the Lightning as well. They got a big game tonight against Buffalo. And we'll get some Rays talk to get into and some other NFL news as well. Aaron Rodgers has come out of his dark Hobbit-like room in the Shire. So we'll find out if he found the ring when we come back. Stay with us. Was your car totaled in an accident? Did your insurance company use Kelley Blue Book or NADA to appraise the value of your car? Chances are they didn't, and you got shorted maybe thousands of dollars. Call the Jeeves Law Group for a free case evaluation because your insurance company may still owe you money. 727-894-2929. It's a free call, so why not find out if you have a case? Insurance companies have been running this scam for a while, and most folks don't know if they've been shorted. Trust me. Scott Jeeves is a different kind of attorney, the kind insurance companies hate to go up against. He could recover thousands of dollars, so why not call? 727-894-2929 or go to JeevesLawGroup.com. That's JEEVES lawgroup.com and tell them JP sent you.
JP here for Emerging Investigations, Tampa Bay's premier investigation agency. Do you suspect your spouse is cheating or involved in a divorce, that your spouse is hiding money, an ex-employee or current employee with suspicious behavior? Is there a criminal matter you need help with? If you need information you can count on, using the professionals at Emerging Investigations is a slam dunk. Emerging Investigations is a licensed and insured private investigation agency, family-owned. Emerging is your ideal resource to secure evidence and validation, allowing you to make informed decisions in life's biggest matters. Led by industry executive Brian D'Antonio, Emerging possesses the experience and resources to get needed results. Emerging Investigations maintains an excellent reputation as a premier investigation agency. They are known for results. You're not just hiring a PI, but an organized, dedicated team using state-of-the-art technology. Their proven investigative methods produce crucial information used in criminal cases, insurance fraud, and personal injury claims. Many local attorneys, industry agencies, and your concerned neighbors all count on Emerging Investigations. Just go to their website, emerginginv.com, or call 813-291-FACT. That's 813-291-FACT-3228. Get results you can trust in life's biggest matters. Emerging Investigations.
Well, it's that time of year to renew or shop your health insurance provider, and you can get great health insurance for $20, $30, $50 a month. Just call 888-325-0605 to help navigate the health insurance marketplace. 1 out of 3 people in Florida are uncovered because they think they can't afford it. Not true. I made the call a couple of years ago, and they helped me get Blue Cross Blue Shield coverage, Florida Blue, for just $20 a month. Last year, it went up to $49. Oh, well. It all depends on your income and your family situation. It's a free call, 888-325-0605. They will ask for some income information. So if you have your tax returns available, that will be great, but you don't need it. They'll just answer some simple questions, and the highly trained reps will do the work for you to find out what your subsidy will be.
888-325-0605. And if you have a plan through your employer, you may be able to get it cheaper. It's a free call, so find out, folks. This has been a lifesaver for me and saved me thousands of dollars over the last few years, and you can choose your plan. It's a no-brainer. Find out. Make the free call, 888-325-0605. Get covered like me and thousands of others, 888-325-0605. The PGA Tour's Valspar Championship returns this March 16th to the 19th with 4 days of golf action plus the host of fun activities that make it Tampa Bay's hottest spring sports ticket. Sam Burns, who won in a thrilling playoff last year, is looking to make it 3 wins in a row on the Copperhead course at Innisbrook Resort. He will be challenged by a top field that includes Jordan Spieth, returning for the first time in 5 years. The 2015 Valspar champ counts 13 PGA Tour victories, including 3 majors in his career. It will be a great field and great fun. Tickets are on sale now at ValsparChampionship.com for all tournament days, both grounds tickets and premium ticket options. You don't want to miss the 2023 Valspar Championship.
JP here for Italiano Insurance. If you've started a side hustle during COVID and the business has grown, well, you need business insurance, because if you get sued, you could lose all your personal wealth if you're not properly protected. That's right. Your home, your savings, everything could go. So get protected now. Call the great agents at Italiano Insurance, 813-877-7799, and a real human will answer the phone and get you protected. If you haven't shopped your business insurance in a while, you could be overpaying by thousands. One customer had their golf buddy handling his business insurance, then called Italiano to shop it around, and they saved him $26,000 a year. Yeah. So call 813-877-7799 or go to ItalianoInsurance.com. Italiano Insurance, protecting all the pieces of your life for over 60 years.
The boys are back. The PGA Tour's Valspar Championship returns March 16th to the 19th with 4 days of incredible golf plus a host of activities that make it Tampa Bay's hottest spring sports ticket. There is more to the Valspar than just great golf. It's the Hooters Owl's Nest, the Snake Pit Club, accessible by premium tickets, and other great venues throughout the course for those with ground tickets. And new in 2023 is the Rooftop, a new prestigious venue at the 18th green with music, food, and fun. Plus, you never know who you're going to see at the Rooftop. Tickets are on sale now at ValsparChampionship.com for all tournament days, both grounds tickets and premium ticket options. You don't want to miss the 2023 Valspar Championship. Hey, folks, it's still engagement season, and where better to get that special ring than the Gold and Diamond Source? The Gold and Diamond Source has the largest selection of engagement rings in the country, a literal jewelry supercenter with 30 times the inventory of any normal jeweler. You don't have to wait to spend any extra time waiting for them to bring something in. They have everything right there in-house, so why go anywhere else? And you can get up to 15% off this January if you buy something with the birthstone, which is garnet. Garnet and gold, Florida State, get something for your favorite Seminole. And let's not forget the Emily collection from Emily Johnson Weintraub. Very affordable, real gold and diamond jewelry, always stylish and unique. Emily has created this fashion-forward gold, diamond, and gemstone jewelry line ideal for everyday wear. Each piece is designed to enhance your look by featuring eye-catching, modern geometrical shapes. Really unique stuff. Got to check it out. And, of course, Julie and Steve Weintraub, great benefactors here in the local community. So let's keep it local. And you can get 0% financing for up to 5 years. Get a big ring for a little price. It's the Golden Diamond Source, 3800 Omerton Road, always online at thegoldendiamondsource.com.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Let's rock.
This is FanStream Sports with JP.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show. We thank you so much for joining us here. Jeeves Law Group is our sponsor, one of our main sponsors. JEEVES lawgroup.com is where you can find them. Give them a call over there if you got any issues with being in an accident, car accident, or you hurt at work or issues at work. They also do that type of work. They are experts in the field. If you have had your car totaled and don't think you got what you deserve, which is usually the case, they can help that as well. Even if it's been a couple of years since your settlement, just give them a call and just go to jeeveslawgroup.com, contact them through the website, tell them JP sent you, and they'll be able to tell you whether you have a case or not. So I pick up a little extra money there that you didn't think you could have. They just having Jeeves Law Group on your side will force the insurance companies to step up. So give them a call, find out if you have a case. All right, wanted to just get to some of our great contributors on StreamYard, where you can also watch us on YouTube, watch us on Facebook, and you can comment there. A lot of you guys do that. So I wanted to get to some of those comments. We've been talking about Dave Canales and the Bucs for most of the show. We're going to get to the Rays and the Bolts and everything else here in just a second. Bucs basement, always great to have you in. Jeff Darlington reports that Trask is going to be the day one starter for the Bucs because they believe they have the best quarterback in the division in Trask. Does anybody seriously believe that? I mean, if the Bucs will sit there and say that they have the best quarterback, I mean, what is that based on? You've not seen Kyle Trask play.
Well, it's based on you're comparing him.
It's completely ridiculous.
You're comparing him to Desmond Ritter,
right?
You're comparing him to, I guess, for right now, Jameis Winston, but he's going to get cut, and
maybe Andy Dalton.
Andy Dalton's a free agent.
Well, who knows?
I'm just saying who's on the rosters right now.
Yeah.
So if you break it down from that standpoint, you're really comparing him to Desmond Ritter,
right?
Because I don't even know what's going on with Carolina. I don't even think they have anybody on the.
But how can you say your quarterback is the best when he's not even played? I mean, Desmond Ritter's at least played.
I'm just telling you.
Anybody else that's going to take a snap in the other places has actually played in a real game.
Maybe they believe he's better than Desmond Ritter. It's really not. He's only going up against one guy. There's only like 2 quarterbacks on rosters in this division right now.
If that's not I mean, that's like, saying we shot down a balloon or whatever it is, and we don't know what it is. We had 20 F-15s running around us. Like you're saying you're dumb. Like you're limiting to. I mean, I'm not trying to be mean to the Bucs, but if you're feeding Jeff Darlington a story that says we think Kyle Trask is the best quarterback in the division, I mean, that's just silly. It's based on what? I mean, it's just silly. It's dumb. So I mean, I'm saying the Bucs are dumb, but I don't even understand that report. Like, why would you even say that? It doesn't put you in a great light. I would, even if I'm planning that story, I'm like, we're very confident in Kyle Trask and we feel like he can be a good quarterback. But I mean, we're comparing him against other. We don't even know who their quarterbacks are. Number one, so it's just kind of silly. Bucs basement says I'm having flashbacks of when Jensen went down and all these O-line injuries happened, and the Bucs chose to stick with their depth because they had faith. Disaster in the making. Yeah, we kind of said that day one. They got to go out and get somebody. I was absolutely positive that they were, and they never did. And not saying that's the only reason that the offense sucked, but it was a big reason. Thought that was a miss as well. What else we got here? Chris Cole says, good morning. Much better than the smug, Leftwich smug. Great word right there. Really good.
I like that word.
Thomas Casper brings up the Baker Mayfield. But to me, Baker Mayfield doesn't fit this team's DNA.
I was going to say, like, from everything that Dave Canales said, distributor, point guard. I mean, Baker Mayfield was a distributor and a point guard for 1 year in his career, and it was in 2020 when he was 11-5 as a starter and took the Browns to the playoffs. So there's a year there that I can go off of. Okay, he did it.
And he can run and he can throw.
But in general, as I always say, take your best year, take your rookie year out of the equation. What are you?
Yeah.
And Baker Mayfield at that point is not even a starting quarterback in the NFL, and he's a turnover machine.
Yeah,
quite frankly.
Yeah, he doesn't feel like he fits the
DNA.
and
I think he's a little bit more mature now, clearly, than he was maybe when he entered the league. I'm not going to say that he's still the same college kid and everything with all the stuff that happened there, but I don't know. That to me. Baker Mayfield, I feel like of all these quarterback options, is probably like really low on my list.
All right. This one, why wouldn't they bring back this from T. Corral or Coral? Tell me how to pronounce your name there, partner. Why wouldn't they bring Lenny back to complement White? Maybe offer Lenny a pay cut. You're not saving much by cutting him. I feel like you got the offense. You're putting Canales at a disadvantage. I mean, I kind of feel like playoff Lenny is just a distant memory. He was
3 years.
Look, dude, I hate to say these things, but I saw the guy in the locker room. He just was not in shape this year. He was heavy and he was slow. He's slow enough when he's dancing in the backfield, but when he's heavy and dancing, it's just not effective. I just didn't see where he brought much at all last year. And if he rededicates himself and comes in at 225, 230 and shows that he wants to be playoff Lenny again. Okay, but I'm not paying him $7 million a year. Isn't that what his salary is?
He's going to be 28 years old when the season begins. That's about the time where I'm starting to phase the running backs out of my plans. I think this team needs speed.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And Leonard Fournette, to me, at this point, 28 years old, there's a lot of mileage on him, weight issues, whatever they're being. that's not speed that you need. I think he's a classic candidate that you're trying to remove from your team just to get more speed. So
I agree.
Thank you for the contributions, Lenny. But no, I don't think for 1 second the Bucs are bringing him back.
Yeah.
And he wasn't even mentioned yesterday, by the way, by Dave Canales.
No.
It was all about Rashad White.
Yeah. I just don't think that he's in their plan, and I don't think he should be quite honest.
I'll put this one.
Okay, go ahead.
You go first with this one.
I feel the same way with Gage, too. If you want Trask to succeed, whoever keep Gage so you have 3 good receivers, you got to give a new OC and quarterback some weapons. Gage was hurt all last season. I agree with you. There's better in Russell Gage, no question about it. I think he's a good teammate. I think he's a good glue guy. From what we saw some really good things out of him in Atlanta. He seemed to be a great third option. But I think his contract is I got to look at some of these contracts.
It's the contract that kills him right now.
Yeah, right. Because
you're going into a semi-rebuild or whatever you want to call this. You already have 2 receivers who are making over $40 million combined. Then you add a third in Russell Gage who's making $10 million. Can this team afford to have a third receiver that makes $10 million a year right now? And unfortunately for Russell Gage, I think there's a lot more in him. But the fact is he got hurt early in training camp and he never could recover. Now, when he got out there, I talked about this a few weeks ago. He was open.
Yeah.
He was one of the more open receivers, actually, in the entire NFL. He was by far the most open Bucs receiver and an offense that doesn't create much separation. So I like Russell Gage. I just don't know at $10 million.
Yeah. Yeah. Looking at his dead cap is $9 million. So yeah, he's this year. Yeah, you're gonna take a huge hit if you cut him. You're not really saving that much. You're saving $2 million.
Regardless if he's here or not, though, they've got to pump some speed into that wide receiver room as well.
Yeah,
just in general,
I think
speed. They need everything.
Devin Tompkins is a kid that I really like. I like him. He doesn't cost much.
I think they're going to draft somebody at some point.
Oh, I think they will, but I'm not using a first, second, or third. Unless I pick up
it depends how the draft goes. We just talked about it.
That's true. That's true. And I think that look, I would be putting Devin White out there to get a couple of second and third round picks. What Scott said to me about that, I did not know that was. First of all, that should never be a thing. I don't care how much you personally like a person. Are you that surprised?
Because Devin White had one of the worst stretches from a linebacker I have ever seen, let alone somebody that's supposed to be this all-pro.
Bowles ridiculously.
Did Bowles ever say anything about Devin White's play?
He didn't criticize anybody.
No, but he kept saying it's not Devin's fault. He could have at least benched Devin White or sat him for anything. That didn't happen.
Well, there was a lot of guys that didn't perform, and they kept putting him out there.
That was a theme of last year.
It really was.
So,
yeah. No, I hear. That's why. When I hear Scott saying he's in the know, he knows these things.
Yeah,
that's Todd Bowles' third kid. I'm like, oh, and I love Devin. Again, none of this is personal when we talk about any of these players or coaches or anything. But you just you put on the tape and you see what you see. How in the world, in God's name, can you pay him Roquan Smith money when he doesn't play that way? He just, and it's again, you got to see progression, and we saw a little bit of progression. And then it just kind of went back to the same old freelance. I'm going to try to go make a big play.
It's just not a position.
Off script, and you can't do that.
It's just not a position that I'm going to pay $15 to $20 million for unless I have Devontae David in his front.
Yes,
I'm just not doing
it. Yes, you can't do it. It's a salary cap league, man. You cannot pay guys for what they've done. You got to pay guys for what you think they're going to do. That's
what I'm saying. It's like I understand he was great in 2020 when he was making all these plays and all the sacks and everything. But listen, 2020 is a great memory. We can't put it over as much as we have on this show, but we have got to forget about it.
Yeah.
And when it comes to the future of this team, it's been 3 years. The team has completely changed. It's over, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And these players that were great in 2020, sometimes you're just not as good as you are now that you were in 2020. And I feel like Devin White falls into that category, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Nothing against him. But
yeah, and Russell Gage, his contract is what it is. I thought they kind of overpaid for him last year and maybe could have drafted a receiver instead, but they did what they did.
With what they were going for last year, it made a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Let's be real.
Brady wanted a vet.
Everything that the Bucs did last offseason, we put it over. We said it made sense, and it did. It just didn't work out. It just goes that way sometimes. And I was going to put this one here from T. Corral because this doesn't get talked enough a lot as much as it should. This team needs speed and a bruiser to go with Vita. Hall isn't it, in my opinion.
I don't think so either.
And I think JTS is not the answer to complement Shaq. And
agreed.
I think you've been hitting this point home pretty hard. This team has got to get somebody that can get a consistent pass rush.
We need some dogs.
You need some dogs.
We need some dogs on defense.
We got a lot of smart guys. We got good athletic guys. We got guys that play well, but I don't think we have enough violence. I hate to say it, but I think we need more violence.
No
on
Sue's running
you know,
around. There.
I mean, Jordan Whitehead was a guy that brought some violence. I think we missed that.
He did.
We missed that.
Keanu O'Neal, I think, did his best to do that, but not as talented as Jordan.
Yeah,
Whitehead.
Keanu is just I love what he brings in the physicality realm, but man, he gets beat in coverage and bust coverage way too often. So that's the thing about Keanu. But you can use him in spots. You know, I think he's a better linebacker than he is.
But that's the reason why if the Bucs stick at 19, I've done my mocks. I've looked at all the big boards. I'm starting to do like my preliminary studies on everything.
You're gonna do us a mock draft?
Oh, I'm always mock drafting.
Oh, let's do it.
I'm always mock drafting.
Well, let's put it out there.
But 19 to me, I think there's going to be some really good edge rushers there, and that's a premium position. You can never have enough edge rushers.
Take it.
Shaq Barrett. I don't know what you're going to get coming off the Achilles injury. I feel like he's going to be more of the year after kind of contributor.
Mm-hmm.
JTS, I can only go off what I've seen for 2 years. Right now, he ain't it. I'm taking an edge at 19 if I really love one. I really do. And the guy I'm going to point out right now is Nolan Smith from Georgia. You talk about a literal dog, right?
Yeah.
From Georgia.
No.
I'll take that guy. If Brian Breesy from Clemson, who we got to see a lot, if he's there at night, if he falls to 19, I'm all over him. Just in general, I think edge to me it might be the biggest need on this team because you need a pass rush.
Yeah, JTS, good dude, shows some flashes, but too light in the seat of the pants for me. Not strong enough. He's a I don't want to use that term, but he's too nice. Like he's just too nice. He's a nice, good looking young man. He says, did you see him out? You know, I see him at the Chase Club.
You've had an agenda against JTS though. I was there with you the day after the Bucs drafted him, and we were having Instagram gate because he had pictures without his shirt on.
Lots of
them, and you thought it was weird. And then I guess you bullied into him deleting all these photos.
I bullied him.
So you've had it out for JTS from day one.
I did. That is false. The information is somewhat correct, but the depiction of it is completely false. I'm just pointing out that, there are name me a guy. All right, well, I'd say, I don't know. When they're that good looking, when they're that, I mean, he's a handsome cut guy. I'll go back to my good buddy. I played high school football with a cat named Tim Flasher. I'm going to send him this. And Flash was 6'6", bow-legged, and about 225 pounds. And he was cut because he wanted to be a lifeguard. He was a specimen. He was a good-looking dude. And he always walk around with his shirt off. And if I would look like him, I would too. But he was 6'6", 6'7", huge wingspan.
Yeah.
And these recruiters would come down, Florida State, George Henshaw, old offensive coach, and they'd spit tobacco. We're going to beef that boy up to about 280, 290. He's going to be the best player in college football. And we're all just sitting there going, Tim Flash is going to get fat. Yeah, that is not happening. That is never going to happen. So he spent 4 years trying to, but he got up maybe to about 270 one time, 285. Real athletic. Could have been a tremendous player, but he didn't want to be. He didn't love football, and he wanted to go to the beach and have fun and look like a surfer cat, right? And it's kind of the vibe I get from JTS. I mean, he wants to look good. He don't want to put on any weight. He don't want to be a fat guy and be running around there throwing people around like Reggie White. That's just not his. That's not his demeanor.
You're saying
DNA.
you have to be a fat guy to be an effective pass rusher?
You got to have a little weight in your ass. You got to have a little something. You got to have. You do. You got to have some wider hips, and you got to be able to get after it.
I just think he needs to be more disciplined in the run game.
I mean,
in the run defense.
I look at John Abraham. John Abraham, remember John Abraham?
Yeah.
God, that guy, he used to run. He used to run sprints with all the running backs and defensive backs and outrun them at like 270. 265, 275. He was just, he was, and not only is JTS kind of, he's not a fat guy, but he's not hugely, he's not big up top. He's not a big, strong dude. You want to be a great pass rusher in this league? Be a big, strong dude.
In an ideal world,
big, strong dude?
We don't have one. Even Shaq is not that big, strong dude.
No, he's 6'2".
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
I'll give you this. In a perfect world, do I want my pass rusher to look like Khalil Mack does?
Yes.
An absolute animal?
Yes.
Of course I do.
Yes.
I'm not going to say no.
Like
but
Khalil Mack, JTS.
It's not even comparison.
I'll walk down the runway with JTS, but I'm putting Khalil Mack out on the side. I know it's me. I'm not being mean. I mean, he's a great looking kid, and he just does he look like a badass pass rusher to you?
I don't
I'm
know
not
how to answer that.
Go look at his Instagram from 3 years ago.
You bullied him and deleting everything.
I guarantee, but somebody did. It wasn't me. He wasn't listening to me. I guarantee you that somebody did. And
anyway, to the original point, this is a good point by Richie as well. Historically, the Bucs D didn't become championship caliber until we got the junkyard dogs like JPP, Sapp, Simeon Rice, and Sue. I'm sure I'm missing someone.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Dogs.
And that was a concern, was it not,
JPP
coming
was
to the season?
dog.
It was a concern coming to the season a little bit.
Yeah.
Of how are you going to replace that nastiness?
Yeah, there's no.
They had none.
Who's nasty on that defense? Devin's out riding horses and smiling and having a good old time.
Devin's personality is fantastic.
He's great.
I love the horses.
Personality. Yeah, I do too. That's why, of course, he's
but
Todd
he's
Bowles' favorite.
But he's the alpha.
He's such a lovable guy.
He's the alpha of the defense, but he needs to play like it. That's his issue.
Right. Exactly. He doesn't play like a dog.
He plays soft.
Yeah, he does. He can't get off blocks. He doesn't knock people over. Now, when he gets to a running back with a free run, yeah, he can lay the lumber to him. Yeah. But that's not often, because if somebody gets their hands on him, he's out of play.
I think a great example is you look at Philly's defense, which was great for most of the season. There are some absolute guys, dogs on that defense.
Yeah, Fletcher Cox, dog.
I mean, as much as I think in Tampa we don't care for C.J. Gardner-Johnson,
that
guy's
dog.
Got a bite to him.
He's got a dog. He's a dog. Yeah, I mean, yeah, and those guys coming off the edge, look at them. Look at them. That look like our guys? No.
Anthony Nelson?
No. I mean, I want to go to dinner with our defensive line. They
I want the equivalent to what I want the equivalent to Ryan Jensen on the offensive line. I want that on the defensive line.
Right.
That's what
even Vita Vea plays angry. Because he just throws people around. He's so big, but he's also such a nice guy.
He's still Moana.
He's the big lovable dude, right? He's Moana. It's not. And Sue is even, he was so like cool and calm, but he just had that underlying factor.
He was respected on the field as being that guy, even if he had shed that label
on your face, which he actually did.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. So,
and I don't know. We already mentioned some of the guys. I don't know what Logan Hall is. We haven't really gotten a chance to see much of Logan Hall. Hear him speak.
Nice guy.
I don't know.
Super nice guy.
He got to put on weight, though. I know that.
He's got to put on weight. Absolutely.
And I'm talking like 15, 20 pounds.
When you look, I hate to do this, but when your eyeball test is a thing. Like when you look at a team, like look at them up front, look at them. I mean, to me, that's important. That's one of the reasons I like getting down on the sideline and seeing these guys up close to see how big and bad they really are. I think, you just get a sense from a team. Like you look at that Eagles defense, you're like, oh, you're like, wow, that looks like a badass group of some bitches. And then you look at the Bucs defense and it's like, who's the dog? Exactly. If you have to ask the question, ask the question, you know the answer. All right, we'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll get to the Rays and the Bolts. That was that's an hour and a half on Buccaneers. This is what it is, folks. The NFL, it's the Bucs. All right, Bucs and Bolts and Rays coming up next. Boy, Ryan Thompson had some shiz to say about the Rays. Respectfully, of course. Respectfully, I respect you guys, but I'm about to dump on you. That's what he did on Twitter. So we'll talk about that when we come back.
To make sure your home insurance is in order. In the last year, many of us have made improvements to our homes. So call the folks at Italiano and discuss these upgrades to make sure you have enough coverage. According to a recent report, almost 64% of homeowners don't have enough insurance on their home, which is their most valuable asset. Also, a great time to make sure you have flood insurance. Even if your mortgage company does not require flood insurance, your home could still be at flood risk. Another big item as we enter hurricane season is making sure your pool enclosure is added to your policy and there will be no issue at claim time. That happens a lot. So call your friendly agent at Italiano Insurance to review your policies today. 813-877-7799 or ItalianoInsurance.com. Well, it's that time of year to renew or shop your health insurance provider, and you can get great health insurance for $20, $30, $50 a month. Just call 888-325-0605 to help navigate the health insurance marketplace. 1 out of 3 people in Florida are uncovered because they think they can't afford it. Not true. I made the call a couple of years ago, and they helped me get Blue Cross Blue Shield coverage, Florida Blue, for just $20 a month. Last year, it went up to $49. Oh, well. It all depends on your income and your family situation. It's a free call, 888-325-0605. They will ask for some income information. So if you have your tax returns available, that will be great, but you don't need it. They'll just answer some simple questions, and the highly trained reps will do the work for you to find out what your subsidy will be. 888-325-0605. And if you have a plan through your employer, you may be able to get it cheaper. It's a free call, so find out, folks. This has been a lifesaver for me and saved me thousands of dollars over the last few years, and you can choose your plan. It's a no-brainer. Find out. Make the free call. 888-325-0605. Get covered like me and thousands of others. 888-325-0605. The PGA Tour is back. The Valspar Championship returns to Innisbrook March 16th to the 19th with 4 days of great golf action and a host of fun activities that make it Tampa Bay's hottest spring sports ticket. Every tournament day offers something different. On Friday, we'll celebrate St. Patrick's Day with the wearing of the green. Saturday means Valspar Live, where tournament patrons will be able to enjoy country music superstar Darius Rucker with a free 90-minute show after the conclusion of play. And on Sunday, we're going to crown a champion. You don't want to miss it. Everybody will be there. Tickets on sale now at ValsparChampionship.com for all tournament days, both grounds and premium ticket options. You don't want to miss it. The 2023 Valspar Championship. Hey, guys, it's a new year, so are you looking for a new you to lose weight, lean up? There are many diets and chiropractors and weight loss clinics out there, but you know where to start? Bay Area Modern Medical Center. Chris Lugo, PA, and his professional staff will devise a personal plan for you that gets results and help you keep the weight off. Everybody metabolizes food and supplements differently, and many of these other approaches are designed for the masses, the quick weight loss, but it doesn't stay off, right? Chris will spend one-on-one time with you to find out what works best for you, so the weight comes off safely without use of drugs that only work temporarily. So call 844-977-3477 or go to BAMMC.com. And Chris will join us each Monday at 11:45 to talk about your wellness and the significant injuries to athletes in the sports world. That's 844-977-3477 or BAMMC.com.
Pure sports. JP is back on.
Welcome back.
FanStream Sports.
Boy, Ryan Thompson is not, well, I guess I could say he's not happy with the Rays, but he said he is. There's a lot of stuff going on here. Welcome back to the JP Peterson Show. As the Rays are in full squad workouts now, and some of the arbitration deals have been done. And, you know, the arbitration thing is weird. It is a process in which the team puts out a number, the player puts out a number, they go to a hearing with 3 arbitrators who don't know a whole lot about baseball for whatever reason. That seems kind of dumb. Put a bunch of lawyers up there, and they feed him stats. It seems like a kind of a weird way to do it. And for the Rays, with Ryan Thompson, he wanted 1.2. They were offering $1 million. And probably could have settled at 1.1, and everybody would have been happy. And you say, here's an extra 100,000, go get him, kid. But yet you're going to go through this process. And while Ryan Thompson put out this 28 tweet thread about the process and started it off by saying, my thoughts concerning arbitration. I want to make clear that although I lost my case, there is absolutely no ill will towards the Rays, as they were as professional and respectful as possible considering the circumstances. This is merely a review of the process. Okay. And then he goes on to just trash the process. And I get it. The Rays didn't come up with the process. But to me, to implement the process over $100,000, when you have one of the lowest payrolls in baseball and you're making literally 60, 70, 80, 90 million dollars in profit every single year. This is just an exercise in like, we're going to beat you over this is such a Stu Sternberg thing. It just reeks of Stu Sternberg. I don't care about the money.
Did you see how many players the Rays took to arbitration?
Yes, it's ridiculous. And the amounts of money we're talking about?
It's very
$100,000 when teams are spending $350 million and you're making literally $90 million in profit every year, and you're going to tell one of your key players, because every player is a key player for the Rays, that we're gonna fight you over the legal bills have to be more than $100,000 for God's sake.
Well, it's the argument. It's the argument that the Rays, and again, it's because of the system, you end up pitting these guys against each other.
Right.
So obviously it's going to be awkward. It's going to be tense, whatever. But just listen, let me go through the meat of Ryan Thompson right here. Okay. Yeah. He said the most important statistics for a middle reliever setup man are holds and leverage index, both of which I excelled in both the platform year and in my career with consistency. The Rays did an excellent job discrediting holds and leverage while targeting me on blown saves, lack of left-handed hitter usage, and a Fangraphs metric called meltdowns. Blown saves is not a stat indicative of middle reliever's poor performance. A blown save can happen with no one runs in the seventh
100% correct
inning or in extra innings with the ghost runner scoring. Blown saves are for those attempting to record a save and fail. And then here's the last two here. My career batting average against is .214 against left-handed hitters. My lack of usage against left-handed hitters, which is as high as Jalen Beeks, by the way, isn't from a lack of quality, but via team projections. And then he goes, meltdowns is not an official MLB stats. I've never heard of it and maybe never will again. We could have scoured the web for positive terminology, but stuck to the criteria. And so I looked up what meltdowns was because, like Ryan Thompson, I have never heard of what a meltdown is. Okay.
I think I know what it should be, but
I shouldn't be surprised if the Rays are pulling this stat from Fangraphs. It makes a lot of sense. As simply as defined as this: if they improve their team's chances of winning, they get a shutdown. If they instead made their team more likely to lose, they get a meltdown.
And let me ask you this: what is that? Who decides whether you've improved your team's chances to win or lose? Is that what metric is? That's just what I'm saying. So many of these metrics now are numbers which you accept as objective numbers, and they're not. They're based on subjective.
And here's what makes no sense to me:
decisions.
not everybody uses these numbers, right? Clearly, but the player who just happens to be on this team is being judged by these numbers anyway.
Right.
I just don't like that, man.
No,
I don't like arbitration in general at all. I think it's a ridiculous way to not pay the players what they're worth. Because I've been telling you right now, I don't think Randy Arozarena is ever going to see a contract worthy of his talent, because this guy has like 4 more years of arbitration. And he's already 27 years old.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, it's unbelievable. These guys end up not hitting free agency until they're like 30 or 31.
If they start late, yeah.
And if they start late, and then they get these huge contracts, and everybody's like, well, they're overpaid. Well, it's because you didn't pay them anything when they were in their prime.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
I mean, arbitration, I get what they're trying to do, but even when you win your arbitration case, it always seems like it's about 70% of what you would get on the open market. So what are we doing here? You know, that maybe even 60 or 50% what you get on the open market.
And even
the arbitrators are not keeping up with the market first and foremost.
Yeah.
And if they were keeping up with the market, guess what? The Rays wouldn't be in this market if they had to pay them what they were really worth. So, but they understand that if you take players to arbitration, or just in those arbitration years, you're going to get a much more favorable salary than they would get in free agency. So, yeah, I just don't understand why you would argue over $100,000. You would take a guy to arbitration when you can motivate him by giving him that extra $100,000. It's not, that's pennies.
Yeah.
Especially to a team that makes as much money as the Rays do.
Yeah.
And believe me, they do, folks. I'm not just
even the guys,
these numbers out of nowhere.
Even the guys, it sounds like they give you like 3 or 4 comps to go off of, and they compare you to him. Even the guys here, and he put all the numbers here of all these guys he was compared to.
Right.
And his numbers were better than all these guys. And yet the arbitrators decided that he was worth $100,000 less than all of them.
I don't get it.
I don't get it. And also, too, Lonnie just put a note here, and I forgot that I had seen this. G-Man Choi was traded to Pittsburgh, and he was committed to play in the World Baseball Classic, which a lot of these guys are very passionate about.
Of course.
And the Pirates told him, no, you can't play in the World Baseball Classic. And then they went and beat him, the only Pirate that they beat in arbitration.
Yeah. And you think that's a good way? That organization is a disaster. Anyway.
It is.
That's a great way to motivate your players. What a dumb organization.
Dumb.
Dumb. What does Lonnie say? Don't forget they have a toy WWE belt that offices will give to what the team won the most arbitration cases. Oh, really? I heard that on Chicago radio yesterday. These owners are unreal. I did not know that. Is that true? They give a WWE belt to the owner that wins the most arbitration
I'm
cases?
not aware of that.
What a bad look for the owners. What a bad look for the owners. Yeah, I don't get it. I don't get it. But it's one of those things that the Rays love doing. It's such a Stu Sternberg thing. It's win the arbitration. We'll save $100,000.
Yeah.
Well, if you, that's crazy.
Anyway,
How much is Stu Sternberg paying himself? Because he won't tell his partners what he's paying himself. And according to the lawsuit, it's in the millions and millions and millions of dollars. Stu Sternberg makes more than most of these players. Well, he makes way more than all of these players on a yearly basis. He makes more than the damn whole payroll. Stu Sternberg does. So based on the projections of Forbes magazine and others. Yes. Bad business, and it's one of the reasons that free agents don't want to come to play for the Rays.
what are you talking about?
Yeah.
The Rays signed a free agent yesterday, JP.
Ooh, yeah.
I can't believe you didn't lead with it.
What's his name? Gamel?
Ben Gamel.
Ooh.
You don't know Ben Gamel?
No, I'm not a big Ben Gamel.
He was a sleeper in fantasy baseball in like 2016 with Seattle.
Ooh, was he?
Yeah.
Oh, I bet there's a
was a
lot of
sleeper.
Rays metrics guys that are all over this one.
They are.
Ooh, I bet. Tell me how great he is. Give me the rundown on his splits.
His
That
splits.
got everybody excited.
I'm not going to go down those numbers.
Somebody said he's got power. He's 15 home runs and 608 plate appearances.
he had 9 home runs last year and 423 plate appearances.
All right.
He hit 232 with a
So
693
that projects
OPS.
to about 14 home runs for a full.
A lifetime 253 hitter, 717 OPS, and an OPS plus of 96, which is under the average in MLB.
Yeah. And
Yeah, I'm
he's
supposed to
a
get
left-handed
excited.
hitter.
Yeah.
And what is he? Is he got great splits against righties? I mean, is
I
that
don't think he's got great splits to get anybody.
okay? Well, yeah. Well, they said they were going out and getting a big left-handed bopper, so there you go.
Well, no, now they're trying to sell me on Luke Raley.
Oh, that's right.
How could you miss
Raley
Luke
has
Raley?
undeniable power. Undeniable power is what I read the other day.
Yeah.
And that is backed up by what?
His minor league stats.
Oh, okay. And
A 6-game stretch where he played last year with the Rays, where he played in every game, and I believe he hit 368 in those 6 games.
6 games. Yeah, not much of a sample size right there.
But he has been, to be fair, he has matched it in AAA. 298 career hitter, 934 OPS, and more than 700 plate appearances in AAA.
Huh. Yeah. I'm not until I see it at
But
the
can I
major
get a
league
sure
level.
thing? Is it too hard to ask to get a sure
That
thing?
costs money, bro. It costs money. We ain't got that. We ain't got time for that nonsense. We ain't got time for all that stuff. It costs money. Hey, you mentioned that USF pulled a number on the
Hey, this
UCF
isn't
Knights.
nice today. This is not nice.
Yeah, well, no, they swept the mighty Knights. USF did in basketball.
USF basketball has had 2 great moments this year, and both
Yeah.
have come against my UCF Knights. And one of them was last night in Orlando.
Shout out
UCF. Shout out USF. Shout
Yeah.
out Brian Gregory and all the players.
Yeah.
Because UCF didn't show up yesterday, and they got their ass kicked. And it's 2 games this year they've lost to USF. And if you include women's in that, USF clean sweep over UCF in the final year of the war on I-4 in basketball.
The table has turned, my friend. The worm has turned. Oh, and we're still not going to play football with UCF.
No, we had the USF schedule came out the other day.
Yeah.
Which, by the way,
If you can't win 6 of those games,
I know USF only won 1 game last year, but I don't think I'm crazy. I think they can make at least a 5-jump improvement, at least with this schedule.
you better. Or
Charlotte.
you shouldn't be playing college football if you can't get 5-6 wins.
This is
out of
what sucks. Instead of getting USF, UCF at the end of the year, you're getting USF versus Charlotte. That's your signature game during rivalry week.
That's so dumb.
Dumb. And
That's
how about
from a financial standpoint, how do you not have that as a non-conference game every single year? Every single year. Why are we not talking about that? Mike Kelly, what are you doing? Is that UCF? As UCF doesn't want to play us?
are you accusing my alma mater of dodging USF, the team that they have perpetually killed the last 7 years?
Somebody's not. Why would that be dumb? UCF, you fill the stadium every time USF comes. Well, they fill their stadium most.
USF doesn't want that free loss. Come on now.
No, well, if USF is stupid enough to not want to play UCF, then what are we doing?
What you're going to build a new stadium, and then you're going to bring in a Charlotte instead of UCF to fill it?
They need to figure out a way to play though.
If you're going to build a new stadium, you damn well better have UCF on the schedule every other year, because that's the only one of the few games that's actually going to fill the stadium up.
Oh, this is my question though. Like, why does this stuff matter that they're not like in the same conference anymore? Florida and Florida State have never been in the same conference, and they play every single year.
You have non-conference games.
It's like the same thing with like Bedlam. That Bedlam's like now done. Why does it have to be done?
It doesn't have to be done. You know why? Because they want all their non-conference games to be home games. They want all non-conference games to be home games. This is why because the Patsies are the only ones that come in for the check and don't expect a return game. But my point is, you can have 3 games against Patsies, right? And have home games, so to speak, and nobody's going to show up for them. Whereas if you have every other year, if you pack your stadium, don't you make more money? Even if you insure a sellout every other year and a premium ticket, wouldn't you make more money? And by the way, isn't it about interest in your football program? Nobody wants to come see you play Charlotte. Nobody's going to show up for that game. You play UCF, everybody's showing up for that game.
I was at that game this year, and I've never been to a USF game that had that atmosphere.
Exactly.
Seriously.
So why would you, if you're USF, why would you not want that game, even if it's every other year? That's just dumb. And if the legislature has to, I think the legislature should start coming up with some rules of scheduling, because they're public universities, for God's sakes. This is what had to happen for Florida State and FSU, the threat of a state law being passed. So let's get our legislators involved here and said, look, I want to see USF play FAU when they're going to play FAU now. But I want to see them play FSU, UF, Miami on a rotational basis. All of these public universities, I know Miami's not public, but at least the public universities should be supporting the other teams' programs by playing games there. Is that too much to ask?
I don't think so, no. I don't think so, but, it is what it is. It's college football in 2023.
Yeah, but UCF, take your L's right there.
Don't do that to me.
Yeah.
Come on. USF, take your L. Xavier Weaver going to Colorado. How about that?
Who's the coach of Colorado?
Oh, no.
Who could have been the coach at USF?
He took Jimmy Horn and Xavier Weaver with him.
Wow. That could be. Think of the talent that you could have here.
Is that crazy?
Just couldn't afford him.
Xavier Weaver and Jimmy Horn are going to a premier program now. At least they're on the way there, we think.
Yeah.
And then Brian Battie goes to Auburn. Yeah. Premier program in the SEC.
Wow. How about that? That
team won one game?
Yeah. They had that much talent and they won one game. That's how bad their defense was.
Damn,
so bad.
Man.
Yeah. Yeah. Unbelievable. Unbelievable how you could be with those kind of players and your defense can be that bad. Yeah. And you had a chance they could have Frank Martin as their basketball coach now. No disrespect to the coaches that they have now, and Deion Sanders as the football coach. If they stepped up and paid the money, but they don't have the money. They don't have the money because they're not in a big conference.
Can they step up to get Rick Pitino here? I saw something the other day.
You can make it happen.
I think it was from Jeff Goodman. He put it out there. He said if Rick Pitino returns to the quote unquote big time in college basketball, there were 3 teams that made sense, and he listed USF as one of them.
Yeah, he's a member out at Old Memorial. Spends a lot of time here. Has a lot of good friends here. Yeah, you could have him. Absolutely, you could have him.
I don't know.
But it takes money. You got to put the money out there. It takes money to get Deion. It takes money to get Frank Martin. It takes money to get these big time coaches.
Those things are gone. I still think there's a nice buzz with USF, and I'm going to leave it. I think it's good.
Yeah. Well, listen, that football schedule, you should get to a bowl game. I'll bet a giant pack of juicy fruit chewing gum, Alex Golesh, that he can.
If you can beat Rice, Temple, FAMU.
Yes.
Please.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. The Bolts have Buffalo coming in tonight. Tage Thompson and Rasmus Dahlin. I was at the NHL draft in Dallas when Buffalo drafted him number 1 overall and did an interview with him. When I tell you that kid looked like a middle school kid.
You did an interview with Rasmus Dahlin?
Yeah. He looked like a middle school kid. They were bringing him around. We had like a radio row. And I couldn't believe it. Nice kid. But I was like, oh, my God, you're going to be playing against Chara next year. He's 3 times older than you and 4 times the size. He's going to destroy you. Like, I'm just like, Alex, so you're gonna try to body up Alex Ovechkin at the blue line? Oh, my God, you poor soul. but he's turned into a hell of a player. He's put some.
Yeah, he's one of the best in the league.
Put some weight on him, and he's turned into quite a player for Buffalo.
This should be a good one tonight. Buffalo,
Now it should. They're coming off a 6-3 loss to Toronto after the Ryan O'Reilly hat trick the other night.
And they're on the first end of a back-to-back because they get Florida tomorrow night.
Yeah.
So they're fighting for a playoff spot.
Yeah. They are 3 points out of the final playoff spot. So that's a big deal for Buffalo. And they're, after the Jack Eichel trade, they've kind of moved on from that, and now they're putting together a nice little team. They're not the doormats that they once were. So this will be a little challenge for the Lightning tonight. Looking forward to it. At 7 o'clock puck drop, I'll be doing the post-game show with Brian Engblom on 102.5 The Bone. After the game, last call at the Cigar City Tap Room, so come on by and say hello. Speaking of food and drink, went to Boulan last night, the hot new restaurant in Tampa, Jeff Gigante's place. Titus O'Neill's one of the partners. Saw Titus there and Jeff. Very nice for them having us there last night. Fabulous meal. Ashley's birthday party last night, so it was her birthday dinner. Took her to a nice place. She got a picture with Titus. It's a big deal, right? And had the scallop risotto. Fantastic.
And
really,
this is
really
on
good.
and this is on Water Street.
Yeah, right across from Amalie Arena. Right across from Amalie Arena. Beautiful bar, by the way. Gorgeous bar. If you want to just stop in and have a drink, just gorgeous place. So stop into Boulan. Tell him JP sent you. Great place over there. All right, what else we got to get to? Aaron Rodgers is out of the Hobbit room.
The Hobbit room.
Yeah,
I have to go read this
300 square foot dark room with a queen size bed and a stretching mat.
And a stretching
mat to do your
and him
meditations.
himself and his thoughts. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a whole deep dive that ESPN did on it that I'm gonna have to read up on. But
that scares the living hell
I saw
out
that
of me.
Schefter tweet and I'm like, is this a real tweet? A little Hobbit room.
I have a hard time driving down the road without the radio on. I mean, I have to sleep at night with like meditations on my from my phone, the deep thoughts meditations, or some type of music or waterfall sounds or something like. I can't silence to square. Me alone with my thoughts. Oh my God, no.
No.
I just 3 days. Oh my God.
I just hope that Rodgers, when he's out of this thing now, okay, get your time, collect yourself a little bit, scroll on your phone, make your decision, please. I don't want another month drawn out of this saga, which is so boring, by the way. It's not actually, I'll take that back. It's not boring.
No.
It's interesting, but I'm tired of it. It's like every offseason. Aaron, make your decision, please.
Packers are going to trade him. All right. Our thanks to Scott Reynolds, who joined us today. Had a fun chat with him about Dave Canales and all kinds of fun talk on the Buccaneers. We thank you guys for jumping in on the chat as well. We will be back tomorrow with more fun and frivolity. We'll be breaking down hopefully the Lightning win over Buffalo and much, much more. We will see you then. Go Bolts.